right now. Doing it, and I think we are live. Welcome, coaches. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're having a great day. I am here with the man that's let me pause that real quick. Gotta love. I am here with the man, the myth, Hollywood. Now I'm gonna start calling you Hollywood, Kurt Warner, because of your movie that's coming out, which I can't wait. Kurt Warner. Kurt, thank you so much for being here and giving us some of your time to talk ball.
Man, it's good to be on again. Actually, I enjoyed the first time around. I'm excited about this time around, and let's get into it.
Yes. All right. So, coaches, if you have any questions, and I mean seriously, any questions, put them in the comments because Kurt. And if I call you Coach Warner, by the way, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
I
go by that a lot. So.
Heck yeah. Well, we have a screen back there that he will take us through anything that you have. So again, any questions, put them in the comments. I want to touch on a little bit because one of the many things I like about you and love about you is your mindset. And we were talking off air, like that the mental toughness that players need for this season that was really short and condensed. How did that affect you, mindset with the kids, and how did you help overcome that difficult time for these players?
I think the biggest part of anything, especially when you're in a leadership role or you're in a coaching role, is you've got to lead by example. That when you get into a situation such as this pandemic, which none of us had ever been here before. None of us really knew what we were getting into. But what I realized was our kids were going to take our lead. So whatever we did, if we were complaining about what was going on, or we complaining about not playing, or our school was very out there in front of this, just saying that our kids and our students and the risk therein is more important than football. As much as we want to play a football season, that was more important. So a big part of what we had to do was lead and show our kids how we were going to deal with this. We had a shortened season. We ended up canceling the last game of our season. So there was so many different challenges along the way. We'd have weeks where we would have 8 to 10 guys due to contact tracing that were out for the week. And so there were so many different things. And like everything in life, there's always two ways to go. You can deal with the situation that's placed in front of you, or you can start pointing fingers and making excuses. And this season would have been very, very easy to just start pointing fingers and saying, well, this is why. But we always took the approach, we're going to embrace the fact that we get to play football. We're going to embrace the challenges that are in front of us. And we are going to do the best that we can every single day. We're going to show up for our kids. We're going to coach our kids. We're going to plan on playing on Friday. And if the game's canceled, we'll get our kids back next week and we will plan to play the next week. If we go into the spring last year and everything keeps getting pushed back, we'll continue to coach them. We'll continue to stay positive. We'll continue to have an optimistic outlook on what we hope will happen. But then we'll help them navigate through things when it doesn't happen. Our seniors were a great example, as I'm sure most coaches around the country. You have seniors that are going into their final year, and whether they're making a push to play college football, or whether they're just saying, hey, this is it for me. This is my last chance to play football. I love the game. Here's my last season. And you understand what goes into that last season. And that was really tough to navigate and to talk to those kids. And there was a lot of stuff going on where it sounded like another, school across town was going to play and we might not play. And so it's like, well, coach, I want to go over to that school so I can play. And so there was just so many different things to navigate and to try to make sure that we did the best thing for our kids first. And then we did, and we're an extension of the school board or an extension of our athletic association, and just trying to always meet the challenges with positivity and meet the challenges with good leadership that our kids could follow in suit. Because I know it was a tough season where we all had things we could complain about, and we all had things that we wanted to complain about. But at the end of the day, none of that was going to do any good for our program or for our kids. And so my goal and our goal was simply to go, all right, it's like everything else in life. You are going to face some distinct challenges. And talking to our kids, there's no other There's no other class, there's no other group of young men that will probably ever go through something like this again. You have a chance to lead through this. You have a chance to impact this program through this, whether we play or we don't play. You have a chance to impact, people and those people that are watching you and the underclassmen and all of that. And so that was really our approach that we tried to take through those challenges, to battle as well as we could for the kids. But, when we couldn't work through some of that stuff, to just be a positive example that they could follow, in hopes that no matter how it transpired, because I know there's probably coaches on here that got to play and other coaches that didn't get to play, or some that got to play a shortened season like us, and others got to play a full, that whatever happened, the bottom line was to make sure that we did right by everybody in our current situation. And that was how we tried to handle it.
All right. Excuse me. I love that, because you're right that we had that same thing where one school was going to play one week. We weren't. They want to, kids want to play because they want to get to that next level. But we tried to tell them, hey, just face adversity, because that's what life's all about. It's how you respond. There are some coaches, I know you know this, that are going through the season right now. What's like 1 or 2 tips you would give them for this season, how to get through it, what worked for you and what didn't?
Well, as you guys know, as everybody out there knows, is that the challenge of, going through a pandemic like this is it takes everybody, and everybody has to have the same commitment. And the hardest part, and I realized this early on in my high school coaching career, is that not every kid is in it for the same reasons. Not every kid is in it to make it to the NFL like I was. So when I first got into coaching, that was my mindset, is, well, I'm here to help every player get better so they can go on and fulfill their dreams. Well, in high school, that's not everybody's dream. Everybody's dream is not, to go and play on and do some of those things. And so to me, a big part of this is everybody committing to what it needs to take to be successful. And that's one thing at the NFL level. We saw the NFL do a great job with that. But that's people's jobs. I mean, that's what they have to do. They've got to commit to doing that. It becomes a lot harder when you're at the high school level, when part of the high school experience is hanging out with your buddies and hanging out with your friends and having a girlfriend and doing those sorts of things. And so it's really tough to navigate the commitment that it takes to get through this. When understanding that not everybody is in it for the same purpose as us as a coach. We might just be football nuts. I'm all about football. Guys, do whatever you can so we can play on Friday nights or play during the week. That's not the high school experience that most kids want. And it's not the high school experience that I want for my kids. So that became, and that will become always a challenge in this, in any season, as we're going through this pandemic, is just juggling that. But I think, as I said earlier, to me, the key becomes getting through it more than using this and saying, oh man, it's all about, winning and doing this and living up to expectations we may have had in the fall. At this point in time, for me, when we played, our games, it was like, we get to play football. Let's go have a blast and play football. Let's not worry about wins and losses. And do we get enough time on the field? And the fact that we don't have, all of our best players, because some might be in quarantine and all of those different things. To me, it was like, this is a perfect chance to get back to reflecting on what coaching is all about. And that's making it a great experience for each and every one of your kids. And so that, to me, would, be my advice and my encouragement to all the coaches out there that are in the middle of a spring season, is to understand that it's different and the expectations should be different. And the bottom line is, hey, you're getting to play football, and make it the best experience that you possibly can for these kids while navigating everything. But don't go in with the same kind of standards that maybe you had, going into a fall or in a normal season, because to me, it's different, and you have to navigate through that and make sure, you can do what you need to do to make sure that the experience for the kids and your experience in the spring is what it needs to be. And then hopefully you can gear up next fall. We can all gear up next fall and really get back to, the football part of it, if the football part becomes more important. But right now, make it about the kids and have a blast doing it, and know that they're just grateful to be out there playing football, throwing it around, and getting the chance to hit each other a little bit.
Yeah, that is the biggest thing I took away from the last time we talked is what I expect from football may not align with the same thing the kids do. And I'm going to be completely honest. I went out there every single day at practice and in the games, just enjoying the fact that I was out there because of what you said, because there are those kids that just want to be with their friends. They're cooped up. They want to get out. They miss hanging out with their friends. So when they came out there, they were having fun. And this was one of the best years of my coaching, years coaching, because I didn't yell that much. And I just want to say thank you so much for that little insight that you dropped that last time you were here.
And it's tough because anytime we do something, we also always have a personal stake in it, right? We always have something that we want to get out of it. And that was something that I had to realize at the high school level as much as anything was, first and foremost, I'm here for them. I'm not here for me. And if I'm coaching at the high school level for me, I'm probably in the wrong profession. And I'm probably going to be frustrated because there are kids that are there for a whole bunch of different anytime we do something. So I had to really check that early on in my career because I thought everybody had the same mindset as me, and it's not that way. And as you said, I've enjoyed my high school coaching career so much better when I've been able to take a step back and go, okay, how do I help this kid get whatever he wants out of this game? I don't know what that is. Maybe it is just hanging with his buddies. So my job in practice is to have fun with him and have jokes and not really even teach him the game. And then there's other kids that want to play at the college level. And so my goal with that kid has to be, okay, coach him hard, take him over on the side when I'm not coaching other guys or even when we're off the field, maybe shoot him text or shoot him some film or challenge him in new ways. But it's knowing what everybody wants to get out of it. And then you catering to them as opposed to trying to get everybody to cater to you, to me has made it much, much more enjoyable. And, a lot of coaches listening, there's times that it makes it more frustrating because you want everybody to have your mindset and you want to coach them. And so they can be the best that they can be on Friday nights, but it's just not everybody's goal and it's not what they're looking for. And so I've got to learn to coach different ways for different people. And once you're able to do that and take a step back and get yourself and your ego and your personal goals out of it, I believe it makes it so much more fun to coach and to go to practice every day and understand, okay, it's all about relationships and it's about connecting with as many kids as I possibly can. How do I do that? What's the best way for me to do that with each of these kids with different personalities and coming from different places?
All right. I'm glad you brought that up. But before, hey, coaches, again, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. We also have something cool. Kurt is releasing something that's unbelievable, and I'm really excited to talk about it. But you said relationships. What is like your tip to build that? Because to me as a player, this is just me. You're Kurt Warner, Super Bowl winner, Hall of Famer, stuff like that. Like, how am I going to have a relationship with you when you, in my football dreams, you're all the way up here and I'm down there? Like, what's one tip that you use that we as coaches can turn about and do the same thing to build that relationship?
To me, it's about being true to who you are. And so when I go in, you're right. When I go into the huddle for the first time or I join the staff for the first time, most of the kids are looking at me like, Kurt Warner, the Hall of Famer. And so, there's kind of that standoff. I don't really know what to talk about or how to connect. And my goal becomes breaking down that wall and that barrier. So I simply become Coach Kurt, or I simply become, Kate or EJ's dad. That I'm out there for their best interests. And sometimes it's going out and acting goofy. It's like being like the normal coach, right? People might not expect that from this guy that I watch on TV or I've seen play. But sometimes it's just endearing yourself to the kids by messing around with them, by having a good time, by joking with them to the point where they go, oh my gosh, this is it's a bad dad joke. So he's just a dad out here, or he's just like all of our other coaches and coming out here and having a good time with us, or you're joining in some of the drills with them, or whatever that may be. So you're trying to break down whatever wall there is. And obviously my situation is different, but I think all coaches are like that. There's always ways that kids look at us and perspectives that they have of us. And my goal is to break down all those walls so I can get back to what I was talking about before, and I can develop a relationship with each and every kid. And like everything else with coaching or leadership, there's no one way. You have to really feel out who the different kids are and then build your relationships from there. Some kids like to joke back and forth and have a good time, or they like to feel like they can jab me at different times. No problem. I've got to be able to take that when the time is right to take that. I also have to be respected at the time when I have to be respected. Some kids, you can kind of get after a little bit and, fun coaching with them and kind of get up in their face or get out in front of, of them in front of the whole team. And that brings the whole team together. Other times you got to take kids aside and put your arm around them and not make them the focal point. And that's how they connect with you as an individual. A lot of times it's getting away from football for me, because when we talk football, everybody's going to think of me as the football player. I want them to think of me as a dad, as a coach, as a mentor, and all of those things. So a big part of it has to be, even when we're on the football field, I'm focusing on other things, asking them, what was going on and what happened at prom, and taking advantage of different things that they're doing and how school is going. And all of those different things become ways for me to break down that barrier. So now I just become Coach Kurt. And in the back of their mind, they may remember that I played, but they don't see me as that player. They see me as a coach. They see me as EJ's dad, and they can confide in me from that standpoint, which to me is always the goal. That I'm never going to have the impact and the leadership that I want unless my kids can feel like they can approach me on anything and everything. And I think I've done a pretty good job with that. And I've also been able to use my kids in that regard, because I've only coached when my kids have been playing. And so to be able to show my relationship with my kids and have fun with my kids and joke around, I think that breaks down some barriers too that I'm trying to break down. So that really has become the key. Is I know that wall is there. I recognize it. So that becomes one of the first things that I do each season, or as I meet new guys, is break down that wall. Still hold on to that respect, because if I can use that to benefit us football wise, and for guys to learn and to listen to me, I still want that to be there, but I want there to be two sides of that wall, and they feel like they can climb over to the other side, and we can have a relationship that goes well beyond football.
All right. You heard it here first, Coach. Kurt Warner's secret to breaking down that wall is dad jokes. That's how you break down the wall. I love it. I love you coming in there and just the image of you just telling dad jokes, because I do it too. And the kids just roll their eyes anytime I think we laugh harder at dad jokes than the kids do.
Right. But it's not even about how funny the joke is or how dumb the joke is. It's about them seeing us in a vulnerable state, right? Them seeing us in a goofy state where they can really laugh at us and laugh at the stupid joke that we told. And that goes so far to let them know, hey, it's okay for us to have that relationship. It's okay for you to laugh at me. It's okay for you to think I'm just a goofy old guy. That's okay, because now that's going to bring us to a level where they feel comfortable saying things, talking to me, even saying, Coach, that's a stupid joke. That's not even funny. You're a dork. I mean, that's okay with me, as long as I can get what I want on the other side as well. And so, that becomes a part of it. And even sometimes I think it endears my kids to their teammates as well, when they can kind of join in and be like, oh my gosh, my dad is such a dork. I mean, I can't believe he does that stuff. It's embarrassing to me, but it endears him and them together in a way that normally you might not be connected on a football field.
Yeah, I freaking love that. All right, coaches. Hey, thank you so much for being here. Emery, what's going on? We got a lot of coaches in here, Coach. Willie, Juan, Robert, Marco. David says, what a beautiful approach to football. It's not about wins and X's and O's at all. Smart man. And you love that, talking about your approach. I want to transition to I know this was a huge thing. You cover the NFL and everything like that. What was like the biggest takeaway this year besides COVID and the lack of everything, but from your standpoint of getting ready to dive into the game of football? Like, did you have to stay at home? Were you able to go to the studio? Did you get as much stuff in normally?
I was fortunate that for the most part, we went to the studio. And for the most part, when I did my Monday night games or did my, my broadcast games, I was able to go to the stadium, although it was different. I think my biggest, I think there's always a number of takeaways, but a couple of the biggest takeaways are how much I miss the fans, how the fans make the game, whether you're playing it or covering it, how much I enjoyed that, whether it was positive or negative, the fans booing or the fans cheering. And just knowing that our game is driven by our fans. I mean, I love the game, and obviously we saw you could play the game and play at a high level without the fans and be out there. But what makes our game great is our incredible fan bases and the people and their passion for our game. And so I miss the fans being in the stadiums and that connection to the game. But at the same time, I was appreciative that the fans tuned in like they did, supported the teams like they did, when they could, how they could. And so the season became an incredible success. And it really led the way in a lot of regards for our country. And that was the other, I think, big takeaway that I had. I've always felt that sports has a way of bringing the country together, or bringing locker rooms together, or bringing diverse people together, bringing the school together, whatever that is. It's got an incredible way of bringing people together because they're trying to accomplish something and they're trying to meet or exceed an expectation. And I really felt like the NFL did a tremendous job of doing that it really brought a lot of people together through the pandemic because of how they went about this and how committed they were to getting a season going. I remember being a month out from the season and thinking, there is no way that we are going to play a season, and there is no way we're going to get through a whole season and get to the Super Bowl without missing games and having issues. And sure enough, the NFL, the players, the organizations, the medical staffs committed to doing this, and they weren't going to be denied. And there is such power in what we saw this year as a league through the sport of football, through these teams, the way they came together. I believe there were teams that were probably closer because of that, because you had to connect. You had to go from here to home and back to football, and that was really all you could do. That was the focal point. And so really, really proud. And what I took away is, really proud of being a part of the NFL and watching the leadership and seeing how this sport once again transcended just the football field and just football fans. And I think showed everybody, hey, we're going to get through this, and we can do this. If we commit to it on certain levels, there's nothing that we can't accomplish. And the season was a great example of that. And so those were a couple of things that really stuck out to me as we were going through the season. As I talked about before, with football, it was also appreciation for our game and appreciation for the position that I have in the game, and that, it's my job. And with all the challenges and, all the things that could have happened, and knowing all the people out there that were struggling and fighting to be able to, to figure out how they were going to make life work. I was proud to be a part of the NFL and appreciative of my role in it and the game of football and what it's given to me. And so it helped me take another approach to just, again, loving the game, appreciating the game, as opposed to just looking at it as a means to the end, which I think sometimes we have a tendency to do in all of our jobs.
I completely agree. This year, the NFL helped me build a better relationship with my kids because we actually talked about football more, because I was like, we all thought we weren't going to get it. Just like the NFL didn't think they were going to play. We didn't think we were going to play. And when they said, it was almost eerie, the NFL was like, nah, we're playing. Then all of a sudden South Carolina was like, you know what, we're going to play too. And that was something that we look forward to as with our players is, hey, did you see Sunday? What'd you watch? What'd you notice? And we were able to have that relationship. And that's something I like that you talk about a lot, is of relationships. You're really big on relationships. And we have a coach that has a question about this, and I wanted to get your take on it. Coach Logan says he has a player that does not want a relationship off the football field. Is it okay to accept that and respect their decision, or do you keep pushing and try to build that relationship?
Well, first of all, I think it's always important to accept what the people around you want in terms of relationships. Is that, we can't always force the issue, and, you respect if somebody wants to just say, hey, this is my coach, and I'm not looking for anything else. I want you to coach me. And as long as you can get that respect and they treat you as such on the football field, I think it's fine to just go that route. But at the same time, I would say, without pushing the envelope, I would always try to build a stronger relationship. I would always try to build something that went beyond the football field and would last long before or long after, a kid's football career. So I would always try to push that envelope with respecting what that kid wants. So, I mean, I'm not going to, go out of my way and text them when we're away from the field or, pop by their house and those kinds of things. But when I'm on the field, I would always try to connect with that person in different ways just to see if, because we're oftentimes, and again, it really could be at any level, but oftentimes, kids don't know what they don't know. Yeah. And so it sounds good that, hey, I don't need, another mentor, or I don't need another leader, or I'm only looking at the coach to help me football wise, but they never really understand, what benefit any relationship can be. And when you're playing a sport, I mean, when you're in the middle of the season, you're not going to be doing a whole lot outside of school and this sport. And so a big part of these kids' lives is going to be played out on a football field or with you in front of them. And so, I would say, the answer to the question is twofold. You always have to respect kids, because leadership to me is about respect. And if somebody asks me for something and it's within the boundaries of what can be expected, I'm going to try to give that to them and respect what they want. But I'm also never going to stop trying to build relationships with my kids or to make the relationship stronger than they already are. And it doesn't mean that it's always going to work. And if it doesn't, because I've got a number of kids on my team that my relationship is purely football, that we haven't connected off of that. Maybe they're on the defensive side and I don't see them in different settings. Maybe they're not a friend or a close friend with my son, so they don't ever come over to the house. And so that's what the relationship is. And I think that's 100% fine. You're going to have that. But, like I said, I'm always going to expand beyond that, because my goal in life is to impact people. It's not to improve somebody's football game. And I use the game of football to try to do that. So I'll never stop trying to build those relationships or expand relationships. But whatever coaches that ask, I don't think there's anything wrong with accepting this is what they want. I will be the best coach on the field for this person in hopes that maybe that leads to something else. But if it doesn't, I'll know at the end of the day, they got the best coach they could possibly have. I respected their wishes, and we had a coach-player relationship that was really good.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I want to piggyback off of that and say that some of these kids, they may not know that they actually have a relationship with you. Like, they don't know what relationship is. And the reason why I say that is I just got a text last week from a kid that I coached 3 years ago that I taught and coached, but we weren't what I would classify as close. But he texted me out of the blue, was like, "Hey coach, thanks for believing in me. I really love that you coached me. I got a chance to go to the next level. And I just want to say it was because of you," out of the blue. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I did not know that we were actually like that. But maybe your player coach is not like that or is like that. So there you go.
Coach, I might say something else too, is that, as you go to expand, I mean, the beautiful thing about the world we live in now is that, you can shoot a text to a kid and it costs nothing. But I would also say, that anytime I do things like that, I never have an expectation going in. So I don't set an expectation on the kid that, well, I'm going to send him a text, excuse me, to see if I can go a little farther in our relationship. And I fully expect him to text me back. And then if he doesn't, now, I'm offended or I'm disappointed or whatever. I think sometimes, you can do that stuff just to let them know, hey, I'm thinking about you, or heard about something that happened at school today, or, saw you in practice today and just wanted to, hey, that whatever play was great, but not expecting necessarily anything in return, not expecting our relationship to have to move forward just because I'm trying. But so I don't set an expectation on these kids that could be unmet or that could disappoint me in any way, shape, or form. But I may still try to do some of those things, even if they maybe told me once, hey, I don't want to have a relationship off the field. But I think everybody, and I don't care where you were talking about, on the field, off the field, in your family, just friendships, everybody loves to be encouraged. and to know that you're thinking about it. And so even though they don't want an expansion of that relationship, I still try to do those things when I can, get numbers of kids. And, if something happens, just let them know, hey, I recognize that, or I saw that. And maybe it opens a door. Maybe it does absolutely nothing. And I got to be fine with if it does absolutely nothing. If it goes no further, okay, it's all cool. I tried, was no big deal. And it doesn't mean I'm going to stop, but I don't set an expectation on these kids to be what I want them to be. Once again, I flip that around and say, okay, I need to be what they need me to be, not the opposite. And that to me is my coaching approach and my relational approach to just about everything, is that if I can meet the needs of whatever that person is, I've done my job. If I can expand that and become more, that's even better. But I don't always set that expectation because it's not always going to happen.
I freaking love that. That's amazing. Coach Thomas wants to tell you that you've impacted him so much with your story and everything, that you're one of the reasons why he's working to be a high school coach without a degree. He's working up that ladder to be a coach, all because of you. So I wanted to get that out there and tell you that. Another thing that I liked about this COVID thing, byproduct, is you now have a YouTube channel, which is unbelievable. I binge watch. I have your bell notification on. What drove you to make that YouTube channel? And thank you for doing so.
Yeah, well, it's it's an extension of my platform, whether we talk about it now or at some other time. But QB Confidential. And for the longest time, I love to coach. I love to teach the game. And one of the things that's a challenge when you get into high school coaching is you can't always teach it on the level that you want to teach it. There are limitations to what you can coach high school kids. And so I love that aspect of things. But due to that limitation, it's never met the kind of impact that I felt I could have on this game and on players and coaches and fans. So that was the first part of it. The second part of it, when you coach a high school team, you really only get to coach a handful of kids. And it's cool and I love it. But I've always felt like there's so many more people out there that can benefit from my knowledge of the game. And so put those two things together, and then you throw in a pandemic, and meaning that normally my off seasons are chock full of, events and appearances and different things that are on my docket, where I don't really have a chance to dive in and do a deeper dive into the game. When the pandemic hit, I had a lot of coaches that would reach out to me, and I would sit down with a lot of offensive coaches at different levels, and we'd go over their offense and talk football. I'd have a lot of coaches that had me speak to their quarterback rooms as they were going through this whole pandemic and dealing with that. And so it gave me a chance to do something that I've always wanted to do, is go a little bit deeper and share more of my knowledge. But it also freed me up with time to be able to go, okay, this is something that I've always wanted to do. I want to be able to coach the masses. I see a lot of coaches out there that are trying to learn and figure out how to learn. I see a lot of players, specifically the quarterback position, which my platforms are always going to be driven from the quarterback position, because I think the game is driven from the quarterback position, but obviously because that's my area of expertise and that's how I see the game. But, so many, people out there that want to learn the game and don't have the means. Not everybody has the means to work with a quarterback guru. Not everybody has the means to call somebody up or to see all the different seminars out there. And so my goal was, how can I coach to the masses? And how can I make it, from a affordability standpoint, cheap, where, compared to what you're going to get anywhere else, you're going to be able to afford, what I have out there. And put those things together. So if you want to get better, you want to get smarter, you want to grow in this game, here's a means by which to do that. And then it's got a lot of different levels to it, which I thought was also important. That, I could have gone out and done something that was just on the field and talked quarterback technique, which is great. But that speaks to a finite group of people, and it only tells half the story. And so to me, I expanded this out in this platform to be able to cover football IQ stuff, on the field stuff, playbook stuff, the X's and O's, which is my greatest passion, to tap into my story and the mindset and the motivational piece of this game, or really of life. And that's what I love about the outside the box portion of my platform, is that it's going to speak to coaches and players and fans, but it can speak to anybody, because it's about sharing my journey and how different experiences along my journey shaped my mindset to get to where I'm going. But mindset to me is so important, because there are so many talented people out there. There's so many people that have great knowledge, but now mindset can separate you. And then lastly, my love for the NFL. And, I'm known on our show, Good Game Day Morning, to be the XO guy.
Yeah.
But I complain every week that they give me 3 or 4 plays max to try to make my points and share what I want to share. And it's never been enough for me. And so the YouTube channel, this platform, has given me the opportunity to go deeper into what I see and to teach the game through the eyes of the pros, or at the highest level, which is where my greatest passion is for the NFL game and really being able to push the limits mentally. So the YouTube page became a natural extension of my platform. And I've been fortunate, obviously, with my relationship with the NFL, to get access to break down NFL film and to use that NFL film, which is going to make my platform different. Even though I know there's a number of people that use it anyways, that give me the opportunity to really take that deeper dive. And so now it's able to fulfill my need to do a lot of different things. The beautiful thing about all of this too is that I tape it all myself. I do it all myself. I'm not looking for a big production team. I'm trying to give people what they want, and I'm trying to make it simple. I'm trying to make it easy. I'm trying to make it easy on myself. Because again, it's not about quality in terms of what the production looks like. It's about quality of information that I'm going to give. And so the ability to be able to touch on those 5 different components on a weekly basis, where everybody might not be interested in every piece of it. But without a doubt, if you're a football fan or a coach or a player, there will be numerous pieces that will help you and will improve your stake in this game. And that to me is what excites me. And the YouTube page, the beautiful thing about that, as you know, is it gives you the ability to go long format. Yeah. Twitter's great and Instagram's great, but you get 2 minutes or you get a minute. And it's hard to do anything, just like on my show. It's hard to do anything with 3 or 4 plays in a minute to really, talk about the points that I want to talk about and really get it to hit home. And so YouTube has become the perfect means of being able to go deeper and go long format and really share numerous examples of what I'm talking about, that I think opens people's eyes to bigger picture. And to me, the sky's the limit. You can go scheme oriented, you can go defense oriented, you can go player oriented. There's just so many different things that you can do. And so I've really enjoyed this past year putting this platform together and diving into it. And the way I've kind of laid out my platform is really kind of in a curriculum type form. And that's the other thing that I like, is that I can get on the field and day one, I'm standing on a line teaching people proper technique and what goes into that to build a foundation and then grow from there. So I really believe this is something that can live, specifically like the first year of this platform can live forever. And it can be a curriculum that you can get and you can go, okay, I'm going to take all my quarterbacks through this and teach them the basics and then just keep stacking on it. And then a lot of the different segments will, go off of that. So if I'm, talking about proper form on the field, I may show Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson in an NFL game and compare where their footwork is good or where maybe their footwork isn't so good, and where they succeed with good footwork and where they may struggle because of bad footwork. And now all of a sudden you're tying a lesson in that you're teaching someone in day one that's just starting to learn, and you're saying, and look, this pertains to the best at the highest level. If you get away from foundational football, it's always going to have an effect. Talented guys can overcome more than other guys, but that to me is the beauty of the platform and the extension, the extensivity of the platform. Of I've got so many different ways to share those messages, and there'll be a lot of things that will be hit one time in one segment, and then we'll be hit again in another segment, and then maybe hit again in another segment. So you're continuing to drive home points that ultimately will make, kind of what I say about the platform: better players, smarter coaches, and more informed fans. And it will do that on some different levels. So I'm glad you're excited about it. I'm glad you like it. We've got, a lot of people watching what we're doing, but I'm really excited about, what we're building and how it's all going to come together. And it's really going to fit nicely to be able to help people get what they want out of the game.
What I like about it is, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm the quarterback coach and offensive coordinator, but I played linebacker in college and got my start. I don't know the technical aspects of a quarterback. And if I can go somewhere to learn from a Hall of Famer quarterback that can teach me how then to teach my players to get better, I'm all for that. And coaches, if you don't know what he's talking about, it's the QB Confidential. I'm dropping it in the chat. It'll be pinned there. I am freaking thrilled for it. What got you to go to there? Was it this was your big plan? Then you went to YouTube, or were you doing YouTube and you were going, you know what, let me make this as well?
No, this was my big plan. This was what I wanted to do, because I have a great passion for technique, that I believe, because I look at my career and, I was never the fastest, the strongest arm guy, the guy that, could make up, for something with extreme talent. And so to me, the reason that I was able to have so much success was because I knew the game and I knew what my strengths were. And, I played with great technique. So I was always an accurate guy. And I coupled that with my intelligence, and you put those two things together. And I believe that will always transcend the quarterback position. Athleticism is phenomenal. Talent is phenomenal. If you know what you're looking at, you know how to process information, and you can technically be sound, and you can throw a football, you've got a chance to be successful no matter where this game goes. That's my opinion. So I had a passion for these other things as well. And so it really became, okay, what are all the things I'm passionate about? Let's put them all together in this box. And then, the YouTube page and some of the social media has come off of that, because that's not my only goal. My goal is not to get 1 million views and to become famous on social media. Although I know that drives, a lot of things. My goal is to impact people's lives. And so if it's outside the box, sharing my story that impacts people to be able to chase their dreams or look at something differently, beautiful. If it's on the field where I teach someone technique that's 9, 10 years old, or you take an NFL quarterback that goes and watches this and goes, holy cow, nobody ever taught me that. Because I believe there's a lot of quarterbacks that are never taught how to properly throw a football. They just can do it. And so they go up through the ranks and, they play the game and they get away with athleticism, but they don't ever know. And so all those different levels, if I can help somebody to increase, as I call it, their stake in the game, whatever that means, prolong their career at the NFL level, allow them to become a starter, a college coach, or a guy that's in high school, give them knowledge that they can take to college, a high school coach, just being able to understand details better, to be able to, as you're talking about, pass it on to my quarterbacks and feel like, right? Because I always feel like we have a responsibility as a coach. And as I talked about earlier, there's responsibilities because of different things that people want to get out of it. But one of the responsibilities as a coach is, if I'm coaching somebody at the high school level and they want to play in college, I have a responsibility to know what is going to help them get there and be able to teach them that. If I'm their high school coach and I can't help them get better and I can't help them go to the next level, I'm doing them a disservice as their coach, because they're stuck with me as their coach. And if I can't do anything to make them better, I mean, why am I coaching them? Why am I there? And so I have to understand what my level of knowledge is. And if I don't have enough to help, just as you were saying, you don't have the basis of quarterback technique like you want, right? And so now you coach a kid for 3 or 4 years in high school, and you haven't been able to teach them some of the technique things that can really separate them and help them either get a scholarship or excel at the next level. That to me is a hard sell as a coach. And don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing you, because I understand there are a lot of great coaches that go, hey, I just want to help. I just want to get out there. I love the game. But the way I look at it as a coach is I have a responsibility. It's like me being a boss of anybody in any field. It's like being a parent. I have a responsibility to teach my kids what they need to know so when they leave my house, they can function. If I'm the boss, my job is to teach my employees what they need to know. So if I'm not there, they can be successful. I look at coaching exactly the same way. And so it's important to me that coaches out there can learn and they have a means of learning the game, and learning technique or whatever it is that they need. And this is my means of being able to share that. Not that I'm the only means and I'm the exclusive means, because we know there's a lot of great coaches out there and there's a lot of great stuff. But this is my way of doing it because I believe in it. And I believe that there's details that I apply to the game that very few do. I believe I've got a story that backs up things that I talk about that is unique and can impact people. And so all of those things went into building this platform. And I have a passion for it. And there's a responsibility in it. When I put this stuff out there, I want to make sure it's good. I want to make sure it's quality. I want to make sure people can learn. And so even on the platform, there'll be a coach's zone where, you take these videos and these segments and you leave them out there. I know there's probably something that I've missed in some of these videos. And so I wanted to make sure that there's a piece that can be interactive as well. So a coach can go, okay, you talked about this in episode 3 of your ABCs. Can you give me more details? Or that doesn't make sense. Or I've been taught this. Why do you do it that way? And it will give me hopefully a chance to be able to expand on that a little bit, or even to go, okay, this is a question that came up numerous times. My next episode of ABCs is going to be me talking about this and letting people know this is why I teach it this way. And you'll even hear me say in a couple different things. And so actually the first episode of my ABCs, which is my on the field stuff, stands for arm, body, and core. But my first episode, I say that exact thing is like, just because Kurt Warner says it doesn't make it the Bible. I want every coach and I want every player to challenge what I teach and challenge if it makes sense to them. And I would want them to do that in any field with any coach. When I would get to, whatever level, I remember asking questions, okay, it's like, why? Why do we do that? Tell me why we do that. And if I got the answer, well, that's just because that's the way we do it. It was hard for me to really follow this coach going, no, I want to know why. I have the ball in my hands for 3 seconds. Tell me why we're doing it this way, because it doesn't make sense to me. And that's what I want this platform to be, is this is how I do it. This is what I believe in. I believe I can challenge the things that I do and they stand up. But I'm sure I haven't heard every question. I'm sure I'm not the smartest guy in the room on all of this stuff. So I look forward to being challenged or to being asked those questions, because I'm sure other people have those questions. And then at the end of the day, you go, okay, this is how I did it. This is how Kurt does it. Which one actually makes more sense? Which one do I think is going to help me or my guys be better, and why? And that to me is what I love about this game, is the why. Why do we do what we do? Why do we coach what we coach? Why do we design this play the way that we design it? And again, that's one of my favorite segments, is the playbook, because there are so many little details that go into designing a play. So and again, I'm going on forever because I
love it.
And I love it. So day one, I start with, a double hitch combination, and everybody, is going to go in going, oh, okay, it's double hitches. I don't need to watch this. But there are so many little details in just the simplest play that can make it a difference maker. So if you're at the NFL level, you can take this and go, oh my gosh, now I see how that can help my quarterback in so many different ways. If you're at the high school level, you go to yourself, well, we can only have 15 plays in our playbook. So is this one of them? But if this is one of them and it's so simple, yet here's a way to make this better and more efficient or more successful for my quarterback or for us as a team, even though it's a simple play that we can teach day one, and because we're limited in what we can do. And so that's how I look at this, is that it's a means of teaching to those that are at beginner type levels, but a way that also teaches to those at the highest level, and saying, let's scrutinize everything. Let's ask the why to every little thing that I believe a lot of people neglect, just going, oh, well, I've been running this play forever and we're just going to run it like this, instead of realizing, oh my gosh, we could just tweak this and this, and maybe it becomes a better play for us. Or maybe you look at it and go, oh, that's great. And it makes sense, but we're not going to do that because I like the way that I do it. And here's why I like the way that I do it. And I'm quite all right with that. I mean, I'll sit in a room and argue with you and debate and tell you why and explain more details on why I've developed the theories that I've developed. But I'm not going to sit here and go, there's only one way to be a great coach. There's only one way to teach all of this stuff. No, but I will say, I think there are certain things that are taught that need to be taught the right way. And there is one right way in certain aspects, in certain mindsets that you go into. And that becomes a big part of what I'm trying to do is shape that mindset. So people think about the game like I do. They think about the details like I do, because that in and of itself, especially as a coach, is going to allow you to give your players what they need, right? It's going to allow you to put your players in a position to be successful. And then as a player, I don't think you can ever have too much knowledge. I don't think you can ever be too smart in some area or have too much understanding in one area of the game. The more knowledge you have, the more you're going to be able to tap into and be successful a lot of different ways.
No, and don't you ever say I'm speaking too long, because
I mean, gosh, I could talk forever. But again, that's what I love about it is there's so many different angles to go, and I believe that's what people will see if they jump on the platform and and check it out. It's live today, as you mentioned. So the first week is laid out, and so that was something else I wanted to say too. Is that I know we all get overzealous with a lot of things, and so if you guys watch shows on Netflix. Some people like to watch it week to week when it's coming out on TV or, as it's being released, so they can watch it and they can take in the episode for an entire week and everything that it means. And then other people want to wait until the season's all out and they want to take all 12 episodes and they want to watch them in one day. So I've laid out QB Confidential very much like a TV show, that I believe most of the lessons, and it's not true to all of them. Some of them, they can all stand alone or you can put some together. But like when I go on the field and we're standing on a line for the first episode, I don't want people to jump to 2 and 3 right away. There's a reason that, ABCs will be released every Tuesday, is because I want those quarterbacks or those coaches to really dive into that technique and really understand it for a week. And I even say sometimes, hey, if you don't feel like you have that lesson after a week, don't go on to the next week until you feel comfortable. That'll always be there. And some may be easier, that it takes you 2 or 3 days. Some may take you longer, but follow along so you really get good at the foundational pieces and take your time with them so you learn it, you understand it, you can apply it, then move on, because we all know this game can be so technical. Playing quarterback can have so many different aspects to it. If you start stacking too much stuff on top of each other right away, you're going to get away from something. And ultimately, you're going to have deficiencies in your game because you never really took the time to understand the piece or to get good at the technical piece that you need, even if it seems really, really minute. And so again, nothing that I did on this platform was just happenstance, like, hey, let's just throw this out on a Monday and let's do this on a Thursday. There's thought process behind why I laid it out like I did. And, some people can get access to go ahead and watch episodes ahead of where they're at. But I laid it out in that means so you can follow along week to week, not get overwhelmed by information, and you can truly learn the little nuances and work on the little nuances that I talk about. And, so again, I'm excited to get feedback to see what people think about all the different pieces and where I went with it and how it helps them. But overall, I think it's really, really going to impact a lot of people. It's going to impact them in different ways. But that's the other thing that's exciting, is that it's not limited to, well, only if you want to become a quarterback can this help you. This can help a lot of different people to grow in the game in whatever means they want.
I like that you're saying that you structure it, because to me, it's like math. I can't teach my kids calculus if they don't have a basic understanding of algebra. And
Right.
You're doing the same thing with the ABCs. Another thing that I like that your playbook, you have the 5 Y's or the 5 W's. I did that. Yeah. I've been creeping on your YouTube channel. I'm not lying when I say that I do it. The story of a play.
Yeah.
I know you have that on your board, don't you?
I do have it on my board. You want me to pull it up real quick?
If you don't mind, so we can do it. And then I have a couple of questions after that from some coaches that I wanted to, but I saw this, I saw it on your thing. I freaking love it.
Okay. So take this a little bit. I'll try to make it a little bit bigger so everybody can see it there. All right. So kind of my approach as I get into the playbook is that I always say that every play has its own story.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a journalism minor in college, and so whenever you're writing a story, right, they always say, okay, it's the who, what, when, where, and why. That's really where the story is based, and then you add your color around that. And so this is kind of how I approach designing every single play. Is the first question I always ask is, who's my primary guy? Because anytime as an offense coordinator, as a play designer, anytime I design a play, in my mind, there's somebody I'm trying to throw it to. Like if I'm putting a hitch on the outside, that's my primary guy. Yeah, I need to know that because the details of the other complementary routes come off of what the primary guy is doing. So how do I get the primary guy open? That doesn't mean a secondary guy doesn't get open. That doesn't mean the play can't be good for your primary guy and your secondary guy. But it simply means that we always have that in mind. We want to design a play, or we see somebody, play something out on film, and we go, okay, great. I want to throw that corner route. Okay, great. You want to throw a corner route. So now, how do I design the play around that guy? Because I really want to throw that route. So that's the first question I always ask when I'm designing a play is, what am I designing this play for? Who am I designing this play for? Where do I want to throw the football? And then the second part is, what defense or defender am I trying to attack on this play? Because that becomes the next part of it. If I'm trying to throw a corner route, okay, what defender do I have to attack or do I have to worry about to throw that corner route? Who can take that corner route away, basically? So then my play design has to go off of, okay, if that's the guy that I'm attacking, and on some plays it'll be one guy and then to another guy and then to another guy. But we start with that first down and go, okay, if I'm trying to throw something and this guy's in the area, how do I clear him out so I can throw that corner route, right? How do I attack that defender so I can throw the primary route that I want to throw? Okay, when to throw. To me, timing is everything in this game. And so the timing of the actual route, the corner route, how deep are we going to push it? When's he going to break out? Where am I expecting to complete this football? Inside the numbers, outside the numbers. All of those details become important. But on top of that, when I throw the primary route, the focus of my secondary routes have to be based off of when I throw the primary route. So if I want to throw the primary route here, then I need to do something with the secondary route to influence whoever that defender is in number 2 in a quicker fashion than that. Because if I don't, now my timing's off. Now when I want to throw the football is off. And so the depth of different routes, the details of different routes all come back to when do I want to throw the primary? Where is my biggest problem? So, and I love this question because too often, as I was talking about, let me just draw something up here. So let's just say that we're putting in a route that everybody runs, the old snatch concept. And so if I'm talking about number 4 here, I'm saying, okay, where's the biggest problem? So in essence, this route, and I'll talk about it in the playbook, it's not one of my favorite routes, but in essence, what we're doing, looking at this play, is we're basically saying we're attacking this defender right here. So if this defender drops back, I'm going to throw it underneath him. If this defender comes up, I'm going to throw it over the top. So in simplistic form, that's the defender that we're attacking in number 2 with this particular play. But when I design a play, I'm not worried about what this corner does because I'm going to beat this corner. If I've got a good play, this guy can go high, I'm throwing it low. This guy goes low, I'm throwing it high. I'm going to beat that defender. So that to me is not the biggest problem on this play. What the corner does is not the biggest problem on this play. To me, the biggest problem on this play is this guy right here. Because obviously I like hitches against corner off. So if the corner's off, I'm going to expect him to cover the deep guy. So, and again, if he jumps the short one, I'll throw the deep one, but I'm going to expect him to cover the deep guy. So I'm going to think to myself, in this look, I'm taking the hitch. But the only guy that I'm really worried about, again, not the corner, because if he takes the hitch, I've got something to attack over the top of him and I'm good. I'm worried about this guy, because if the corner does what he's supposed to do and this sandbacker buzzes outside, now what do I have?
Nothing.
Where am I successful on this play? So you have to take it the next level and go, okay, where's my biggest problem on this play? Not what defender am I reading, but who can take this play away or make this play the toughest? So in essence, and again, I don't necessarily have this play, but so if I was doing this and I had a 3-by-1 set here, I'm going to put that guy right there. So now I know this sandbacker is my biggest problem. So if he runs out here, now if it's a two-man concept, I don't have it picked up, or I don't have an answer for it. But if he runs out there, now I'm going to replace that. So that biggest problem that I had on this play, now I've got a way. If he does the worst case scenario and runs out and covers my hitch, what am I going to do? What's my answer here? I've got to have an answer, but you'll never have an answer if you don't know who your biggest problem is. Who is my biggest problem on this? Who can take this play away if I'm running it? And if you don't know that, your play's not ever going to be great, in my opinion. If you know that, now you can build in answers, or you can run technique, or you can do things different to make sure I help myself counter the biggest problem on that particular play. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I like that. And you're saying that coaches should be going through every single play of their playbook and identifying the biggest problem, who can take it away.
Well, I'm going to say that I do that. Yes. To me, it only makes sense. Right? Is not just who am I attacking on a play, but where do I have the biggest problem on a play? And that to me should become part of your play design every time you design a play. Is okay, if this guy can take it away, is there something I can do to influence that guy to make it harder for him to be a problem for me? Or to make my play better, I need to know where I have an issue. It's like as a quarterback, right? If there's quarterbacks listening right now, I always want to know who my biggest problem is, not who I'm reading. Oftentimes that becomes the easy part. Oh, I know who I'm reading in this particular case, but where's my biggest problem? So I need to make sure I have eyes on the same linebacker here to know, okay, if that happens, what am I going to do? If the guy that's in a position to give me a problem on a play does what he needs to do to make it a problem, what's my answer? Do I have an answer? And that to me is what play design is all about, is knowing what you're attacking, know who you're trying to throw it to, but also know where your issues are. And I'm not going to sit here and say you can cover every issue on a play, because there's going to be some plays where you want to do different things on both sides, or I need my number 3 guy, to help with another concept. But in the back of my mind, I still need to know who my biggest problem is, right? I still better know where my issue is. So as a coach, I'm standing on the sideline, I'm watching that same linebacker. Okay, against this team, he's buzzing really hard. We can't call this play anymore, right? Or as a quarterback, man, I'm going to watch that sandbacker when we call this play. So I know what he's doing and whether I like to go to that side or I don't like to go to that side. Or maybe it's, oh, we got an answer with F, so I like this side all the time, and corner's off. I'm expecting him to take the corner. I'm going to come out and peek that sandbacker. Sandbacker stays tucked in. I got my high-low. Sandbacker buzzes real quick. I just replace with my F right now, and I know where my biggest problem is. And then the last part is why. Okay, and that goes down to the details of route technique. Why do we do what we do? Why do we release the way that we release? Why do we line up where we line up? What are the keys to different formations, and how our route technique changes because of that? And so I encourage everybody that's watching this to jump on my website. The first week is entirely free, so you'll get a chance to look at the different episodes. And I would say go check out, if you're fascinated by this, go check out the first episode of Playbook. And it's the double hitch combination, which again seems so basic, but you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about and why all these things becomes so important, and you start looking and asking the questions that you need to ask to be a successful play caller, play designer. But you're able to really answer the why and what's the story and why am I putting this play in? Not because I've seen every NFL team run this for 30 years. And so I got to run it. Everybody runs smash. I got to run smash. Well, why? And how are you going to run it? And what makes it a better play, than just running these routes out there? And as I said, everybody runs this play, Coach, and I'm not a big fan of this play. Yes, this play can be very good against different coverages, but I don't think it always has a great answer against every coverage. And so just simply, let's just say that I can't have my F over on this side. And so all those issues we just talked about now come into play, where a lot of people would say, oh, you can read that smash concept against anything. Well, can you? Because if my Sam buzzes and my corner stays off, what's my quarterback doing on this play?
Yeah.
And we've got a number of coverages that will look just like that with the possibility of that happening. Not that it will happen. And I can show you a million times that this worked and the Sam stayed tucked inside and I threw the hitch, or the corner jumped in and I threw the corner against this exact look. Yeah, of course. But to me, just because it worked doesn't mean it's a great play, or doesn't mean it's a universal play. Because to me, I always coach. I would say I coach more to number 4 than anything. I coach more to make sure I have answers to my biggest problem than saying, oh, I can get a throw that I want because they do this coverage every time. I would rather look at number 4 and go, okay, I want my plays to be able to have an answer to whoever that is that I know is an issue for my quarterback. And the more answers I have, to me, the better play that I have.
I love that. Now, what?
You want to stay here?
Yeah, if you want, I do have a question from one of the coaches. He wants to know. So, coach is a middle school coach, football coach, and he wants to know, what are some drills, in your opinion, that he should be doing with his quarterbacks to get them ready for the high school level?
Okay, let me pop back here so they can see me. We'll do that just for now. Again, let's pop back up. So what drills should somebody be doing to get somebody ready for the high school level?
Yes, sir.
So I know this is probably going to be a unique approach to drills, but I'm a firm believer that there are a million different drills that you can do that can help a quarterback. And there are a million different drills you can do that won't help your quarterback. And the reason I say that is, to that coach, I would just encourage you, again, if you're in a position to be able to get on the platform, is to go through the ABCs. And because to me, drills, so to me, everything has to start with foundational football. And so what happens is you learn how to teach foundational throwing of a football. You learn how to teach a quarterback the foundations. Once you teach them the foundations, then every drill should be used to coincide with those foundational principles. And so that's why I say you can come up with a million different drills that you want, but always make sure that those drills have a foundational component to them. Let me give you just a quick example of what I'm talking about, because it's a popular drill that every quarterback coach does. So they're going to drop their quarterback back, and they're going to hold a football in their hands, and they're going to drop you back, and then they're going to go right, go left, go right, go left. Okay, now throw it. All right, everybody does it. And
Guilty.
In my mind, I understand what they're trying to do. But here's the problem with that drill. I mean, there's a couple problems. First of all, if that's all you're doing and you're telling your quarterback, you're going to drop back and I'm going to move you, and then you're going to set and throw, that quarterback never learns every time he drops back to get set to throw. Because every time a quarterback drops back, he should be dropping to set and to throw it, not dropping to move. He should be dropping to play foundational football, play on time, and play that game. So just to use that drill as an example, what I would do with my guys is, let's just, for sake of the play, we put a hitch on the outside. Or let's just say for the sake of it, let's just put a hitch on the outside. So I would say to my quarterback, you are going to drop back and you're going to throw that hitch. And you're going to drop back and you're going to throw that hitch. You're going to drop and throw that hitch. And there's going to be some time here, and it might be every time. It might be 1 out of every 5 times. Whereas you're dropping back, your guard just missed a block, and I'm coming running at you. Or I'm going to yell with my ball and say, right. Or I'm going to move it to the right, and you're going to have to move to the right while you're dropping back. Okay, so reactionary football, you're dropping to throw the hitch. You throw the hitch. You throw the hitch. You're on time. You throw the hitch. You throw the hitch. Boom, now you got to move. Okay, okay. But everything is based off of the foundation first. I'm not just making a guy move because that's not real football. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about, is you can create a million different drills that coincide with plays that you run or things that you've seen happen in a game, things that have played out in a game. But make sure you always start with the foundational piece. Make sure your quarterback is always working his footwork and working the timing of throwing that hitch, because that's what he's going to do most of the time. Is I want him foundationally set to drop back, hit the back foot, get the hitch out, be accurate with the hitch every time. You will do that more than you'll drop back and run back and forth 4 times and then make a play. It'll just be how you want to play football. And I'll learn that my mindset is always get to a throwing position, get to a throwing position, get to a throwing position, get into my back leg, get into my back leg, get into a power position. You'll learn that over and over, but I want that to be foundational in every single drill that I do. Then you take your pieces from there and go, okay, as long as we're getting to this point, now I can make them move. Okay, the other aspect of it. How often in a game have you ever seen a quarterback take 3 steps to the right and then 3 steps back to the left and then 3 steps back to the right and then throw?
Never.
Once you take 3 steps to the right, you're either setting and throwing or you are bailing out and going. So again, to me, I don't run that drill, and I understand the premise. But my premise is, if you have to move quick to the right, okay, now how are you going to make the hitch throw? Are you staying on the run to make the hitch throw? Or are you taking 3 hard steps, quick set, hitch throw? So that could be another thing. The quick set, popping to the hips, getting the ball out quick, could be another foundational part of the drill that I use. So now I'm putting those 2 foundational things into the drill that we're going to work, but you don't know which one's coming. Because if you don't know which one's coming, then you can't cheat the drill, because every coach has always said that, quit cheating the drill. Well, I'm making it easy for you, because I'm telling you, you're not going to set up. I'm going to move you 3 times, and then you're going to throw it. So, yeah, I can try in my mind to go, oh, well, he's not going to move me, but I know he's going to move me. So I'm setting my kid up for failure instead of going, no, you're going to throw the hitch. Go throw the hitch. Go throw a curl. Go throw it out. That's what we're throwing. We are working the technique of that play. And then I'm going to add a little twist here, and you got to move 3 steps, flip your hips, and throw the hitch again. So now we've built in foundational pieces to that drill. So like I said, I can't sit here and give you every single drill that you do, but make sure that your drills are foundationally based. And so I hardly ever do a drill where I don't give my guys a mental picture to play out, because the quarterback position is never just played physical. So another thing that will happen in ABCs is, as I get into some of these things, and again, the first year is really foundational. So we're talking about a 5-step drop. So I'll spend one episode talking about a 5-step drop, how we get into it, what our hitch is, whatever the route is. But then there'll be times where I put, a curl and a flat out there. And so we want to throw the curl, but then I put a defender out there as well. So now you've got to hold true to your foundational technique of the 5 steps and the hitch, but I'm making sure that mentally you're getting a mental rep every time you do a drill as well. So now we're starting to put different foundational pieces together. Maybe what you learned in a different segment, or what the mental part of this game is, where I can't just go all of a sudden now, oh, you might have to throw the curl or the flat, and now your footwork goes to crap because because, you can't think and play at the same time. So it starts with building the foundation. And then drills to me have to come off of the foundation. What foundational piece am I trying to teach in this drill? Okay, that's what I want to teach. All right, now let me come up with a drill that feeds into that foundational piece without letting them stray from it, without letting them play the drill or do something that isn't going to be helpful to it. Now, here's the thing, right? There will be times in the game where your quarterback has to be an athlete. So the drill that we're talking about here, there are times where the guard's going to miss and you've just got to turn and make a play. Great. That's great. And more power to you. But the bottom line with that is most times you're not really going to teach somebody how to be an athlete. Yeah. If I want somebody to be an athlete, I'm telling my kids, go play basketball, go play baseball, go learn how to react and be an athlete to what happens in front of you. The quarterback position is less reactionary from a physical standpoint and more reactionary in my mind from a mental standpoint. Now it's reactionary in being able to move and get back into a platform and that kind of stuff. But I mean, just the bottom line is we're not going to have too many Deshaun Watsons and Russell Wilsons. And so I'm not going to spend my days trying to teach my guys how to be an athlete with the football in their hands. Go learn to be an athlete somewhere else. And that's what I did. And, nobody would ever look at me and say, athletically, I was great, run fast, throw far. But I had a really good feel athletically, the ability to control my body, the ability to manipulate a pocket, the ability to throw on the run. I played baseball. To me, I learned more from baseball where we talk about foundational pieces, right? As a quarterback, we want to have both feet in the ground to be able to step to our target. That's a beautiful world, but we don't live in that world all the time. So to me, a foundational piece is the ability to throw with your core and allow your core to create power so you don't always have to have your feet in place. And so I played baseball. I believe that's one of the greatest things that I learned as a thrower was the ability to bring my body and throw with power without having to have my feet set. So I learned how to become athletic and play the position athletically, but I didn't learn it from a drill where I'm running back and forth 4 times. I'm learning it from having to react and figure out how to get the ball from the shortstop position off of my backhand to first base. So I had to learn how to be an athlete by being athletic, by doing things that were athletic. It's one of the reasons that I loved basketball, because there's so much reaction to basketball, playing defense. It's all reactionary. It's all about being an athlete and how quickly can you move and see, can anticipate things that are happening. And so to me, I try to teach my quarterback that if we want to do anything athletic, I say, go get 7 of your friends and go play 3-on-3 in the backyard and let somebody rush you. Right? I don't need to go out and do a drill that I'm going to tell you what we're going to have you do. Go be an athlete. Go do something athletic. Let's go play catch in the backyard with a baseball, and I'll throw some to your backhand, and you've got to throw it on the move. All right? How are you going to get it to me? You're going to learn how to throw with your body, or you're not going to be able to play the position. So to me, the athletic stuff, I want my guys to learn by being an athlete, by go doing things that are athletic, where they have to think and react and just play the game. Because I never had a quarterback coach. I never had a quarterback confidential that I could watch when I grew up. I learned how to throw a football by playing sports. I learned how to be an athlete by being an athlete. And I just believe that's a dying trait in this day and age, that too many kids want to specify. When my son goes out, he wants to drop back and throw all the routes that are in our play. Oh, I can take a 5-step drop and throw a curl against air. Oh, great. I mean, that's awesome that you can do that. And you're going to need to do that. But don't do that all the time. Find a way to be creative and be athletic, because I'll take you through enough drills that you can throw that curl. We'll talk about all that. Do those things that are out of the norm. Do those things that are more reactionary. I recently, when I was covering the Packers game this year, we were talking to Aaron Rodgers about the new offense and learning the new offense when he did a couple years ago, and that piece, and he's very studious, and and he buys into all that stuff. But I loved the point that he made, because the point that I've always loved to make to my guys too is that he said at one point, he goes, but I always want to leave room to be reactionary. I always want to leave room to know that I'm not I haven't overcomplicated this to the point where I can't just be an athlete and just play the game. And sometimes we can go too far with that.
Yeah.
And we can try to become too much of an athlete or try to create too much of that when we don't have to. And so to me, it's the fine balance. But the fine balance is learning the foundation, knowing how to do things right in a perfect world, and then being a good enough athlete where if something happens, you're not stuck in the ground where you get hit in the head, or or every time you're taking off and running. Learn the foundations, and then do things that will help you become athletic, that will help you to be able to control your body, to throw on different platforms. And it's not about a drill to me so much. I can create some drills that do that, but I want my guys to do that on their own. And I want them to do it in a fun fashion where, again, it's just, you've got a guy rushing you and you guys are playing 3-on-3 pickup football in the backyard, or you're playing pickup basketball and you've got to learn how to play defense, or, avoid somebody, or dribble around somebody, or make a stop and go move. And I honestly believe, however much you want to practice being an athlete quarterback doing drills, compared to your quarterback being an athlete and going and playing other sports, I will take the one that plays multiple sports every single time over the one that I've tried to teach how to be an athlete on the football field. And so that's how I approach it. I'm going to make you as good foundationally as I possibly can. Being an athlete, that's up to you. That's up to you to figure out how to be an athlete. What is going to prepare you to be a great athlete? Footwork, reaction, intelligence in terms of, athletic intelligence, the ability to control your body. Because I can't teach all of that stuff. First of all, none of us will have time to teach all of this stuff. Right? As a high school coach, we know how many, we get 15 minutes of drills a day.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
And so that's another part of this QB Confidential. Why I've done it is because you got to do a lot of stuff on your own. You got to learn a lot of stuff on your own. I actually just did an outside the box the other day. And, the theme of it was, don't wait to be coached. Too many people wait for somebody to tell them that something's wrong instead of knowing what to do and how to do it and when they're wrong. And they're always waiting to be coached. And so they miss out on being able to get better, or they think that they're doing great because their coach didn't tell them to do something different. A, their coach may not know. B, their coach is too busy to watch every little thing. So I don't ever want to I don't ever want to wait to be coached. I want to seek out coaching. I want to seek out knowledge. So personally, I can have the answers and I don't have to depend on my coach to always give me the answers. Another reason, as I said, why I created this platform, a chance to give answers. When a coach is, putting a play on the board and you ask why, and he goes, well, I don't really know. Or or if he does know and he goes, this is why. Now you have a way to counter that and say, hey, coach, what about this? I saw this on, Kurt's platform and he said this. What do you think about this? And once again, that doesn't mean you're saying, coach, you don't know what you're talking about. Kurt said this, so we have to do it this way. But I want that player to be able to go, okay, now I have two viewpoints. Let me hear what coach says. I heard what Kurt said. Now let me develop what I believe is the best way to run a play, the best details of a play and what's going to help me the most. And even though you may not change it in high school, that's a level of knowledge that you can take with you to the next level. And now you start to take ownership. And now you start to have a knowledge that gives you confidence. It gives you the ability to, and I don't want to challenge a coach is not a negative to me. I want every one of my players to challenge me. I want every one of my players to ask me why. I want to always have a reason why I'm telling them to do something. It's one of the ways that I coach. I don't ever coach somebody just to do something. I'm always going to coach you when I tell you I want you to do it this way. I'm going to tell you why. I want you to be smarter. I want you to understand why I'm asking you to do something and why it is so important for you to do it. And so I never, get mad or upset or, turn away from a player when they challenge me. I want them to challenge me. And then I want to make sure that I have an answer. I better have an answer. I don't ever want to be, well, that's just how we do it. Well, I'm telling this guy to do it a certain way. Why am I telling him to do it that way? If I don't have an answer, just let him do however he wants to do it. Right? Why not? If there's no good reason why I'm telling him to do it this way, not just because I'm in a power position, I want to have a reason. And I want them to know I have a reason. And that's part of how I earn their respect, is to, here's what I want you to do. Here's why. Here's how what you do correlates to what the quarterback has to do, or this is why what you do correlates to what the offensive line has to do. And this is why we do it this way. And if somebody comes to me and goes, well, we do it this way, and here's why, and I look at it and go, dang, that's better than what I was doing. I'm going to go take what they told me. As long as I have the knowledge to be able to take that and apply it, I'm going to apply it. So that's what I want this platform to be. That's what I want everybody to do. Take what I put up here, challenge yourself on it. Okay, I do it this way. Why do I do it this way? Which way is better? Okay, I still think my way is better, so we'll do it my way. But it got you to think about that simple double hitch play in a completely different way than you thought about it before. And that's what I want to do. I want to challenge guys to take their game to the next level, whatever piece that is. And so, again, it's one of the reasons why I'm excited about it. I mean, you hear it. I mean, I can sit here and I got all these videos and, I can talk forever about these things because I love it so much. And I love how the little things, make such a huge difference. So it all started with the drills. And I hope that made sense, is that I would build foundation first, and I would make sure all your drills are based foundationally. And then from there, start to attach those foundational pieces to what you do offensively and what you think your quarterback reasonably might do in a game. I don't practice very often for the one-offs, because again, to me, the one-offs are going to fall to the quarterback having to be reactionary. I'm not going to spend 5 of my 15 minutes today trying to get you to do something that may happen once this season. Forget it. I'm going to teach you for those 5 minutes the foundational pieces that you're going to have to do 100 times this year. So you're good at all of those. And if you fail on that one-off, dang it, we failed on the one-off. But if you fail on the hitch 15 times out of 100, I've failed as a coach to not get you ready to do the basics and to do the foundational stuff. So that's where I start. And then I shape my drills around that. And I don't think drills have to be all that, right? I see so many guys out there that are trying to reinvent the wheel and come out there with all these cool props and
brooms and bags and everything.
And again, I'm not knocking, that can be fun and that can be good as long as it fits foundationally. I would rather put a curl flat out there and put a defender and work on your 5-step drop while you have to read that curl flat. If I'm going to run curl flat 50 times this year, I would rather spend my 15 minutes doing that over and over and over and over again. So you're good foundationally and you're reading the most basic play in our playbook and you've got 100 reps at it. So it becomes second nature on the football field. I would rather do that and spend my time doing that than doing something creative that somebody sees on YouTube and goes, oh my gosh, that looks great. And again, I'm not knocking those things.
Yeah.
In high school, it's all about making it fun. If you can find a drill that makes it more fun for your guys and teaches foundationally, go at it and send me something on Coach's Zone and tell me what it is, because I will take it and apply it. But all I'm saying is don't sacrifice the basics and the foundation for trying to be innovative and create something new and off the wall that doesn't necessarily truly connect to what your guy is going to be doing 95% of the time, right? 95% of the time, we want our quarterback to play in a more perfect world. Timing, drop, read, maybe a little slide, get the ball out. That's how we want to play the game. So let's coach the game that way. And then, we can do our other stuff, having fun and preparing if they become a bigger part. Like, I don't have a good offensive line and my quarterback's running every snap. Then I have to wrestle with two things. The first thing is I'm still going to go back to foundationally that, hey, I want you so good at getting back 5 steps, quick hitch and reading that you can even beat the rush with the throw. But I want you foundational because that's where we're going to be more successful. If you can't do that and we've got to relegate ourselves to, okay, a guy misses, you're going to have to take off and run and create something. Well, I'll try to create drills that will play to that more, but I still believe timing and technique can beat pressure more than my guy just being a better athlete than your guy. And again, you can probably tell me at the high school level, you may have one of those guys that beats pressure more than it doesn't. But he's going to get to college, and okay, maybe you've got one of those guys that but those guys are rare. And then if they go to the next step, too many of those guys are relying on being an athlete instead of having a foundation, and they get to the NFL, and sorry, so long, your athleticism just went out the door in terms of being more talented than everybody else. Now you got to play the position. Now what are you going to do? So let your athlete be an athlete when he needs to be an athlete, and let him react and be special. Teach him how to be a quarterback. Teach him how to be foundationally sound, because that is something that will carry over to every level, regardless of how good you are athletic.
I like that, because when you were talking, I realized I do those kind of silly drills that I sometimes see, the move to the right, move to the left, or everything, because I'm trying to make things entertaining and get the kids going. But you're absolutely right. They need to know the foundations. We need to 80-20 it. What are we going to be doing 80% of the time or more? Let's work on that and get the reps that we need to be successful in our plays. I freaking love that. And Coach said, thank you so much for that answer.
And that drill, again, I don't want to say that drill can't be good in ways, but to me, the biggest piece is you have to have a piece where he sets and throws on time. Because if you're not doing that, you're doing a disservice, because you're playing to say, hey, I'm going to let you drop back in this drill and not be ready to throw, right? I'm going to let you go back and not be foundationally sound to make a throw. We're just going to make it up from there. So you're doing them a disservice, as opposed to every drill I do, and I shouldn't say everyone, 95% of the drills that I would do are going to be based off of, you are always going to find yourself at the top of your drop in a foundational position. Once you get there, now we can set the drill off of that. But if I let you get away from that too much, you're playing in a world that you're not going to be in. Because like I said, if you don't get the chance to get back to your 5-step drop, your 3-step drop, and get set, then it's all reactionary anyways. The only reason that happens is because somebody whiffed at the point of attack, and I'm not teaching you what you're going to do in that moment. I mean, my gosh, you see a big guy chasing after you, you're going to just run away from him and try to avoid him and then make a play, and there's really nothing to teach there. That's when you have to be an athlete. That's when you have to see and just create something, as opposed to me trying to teach you how to do that, because every time is going to be different, and that's where athleticism has to take over.
I agree. And I think that's also one of the main reasons why I see a lot, like all the football coaches I know are always telling their kids, hey, play multiple sports. Get every single, if it's not football, play basketball. If it's not basketball, play baseball, do track, do something else, so that it builds that athletic ability that they won't get, like you're saying, in the 10 or 15 minutes in an individual drill that you have before you go.
Yep. No doubt. No doubt.
All right. There's another question from Coach Butler. He says, this is probably off topic, but talking from pro to high school, what is your main concept ran at the high school level? Is there anything you took from the pro game and were able to utilize in the high school game?
Well, the beautiful thing about high school, one part of it that's beautiful is that, most times us as coaches are just as smart as the team on the other side. And what I mean by that is we got a pretty good idea what the other team is going to do a majority of the time, right? They're going to come in, and most teams aren't going to have 5 different coverages that they play and 8 different blitzes that they bring. And so that's the beautiful part. And so the first thing is just being able to take my knowledge, to that level. So we don't have to always overthink and overteach. And so, that, I think that's the first thing. And so then it comes down to, what I always try to do is go, okay, what are I can go all the way to the NFL, and I would give you curl flat. I would give you slant flat. I would give you, those are just a couple of the plays, but those were my favorite plays in the NFL, and they were my favorite plays in college, and they're my favorite plays in high school, and they're plays that we run all the time. I mean, they're good plays. If you have it designed right, it's an easy read, it's a simple play, it's successful against a number of different coverages, and I did it well. And so when I try to go down to the high school level, the first thing I try to do is go, okay, let me take just good, conceptual, simple plays, and let's make that the heart of what we do. That doesn't mean we're not going to add some nuances and do some things off of it. But that's the thing that I think I realized is that too often we try to make the game too complicated. Yeah. And playing at the NFL level, and the reason I said that was because these are these simple plays that I put in day one in high school that were my favorite plays in the NFL, and that I ran as much as I ran anything else in the NFL. So it taught me that just because I get to a higher level or just because I'm smarter doesn't mean I have to make the game more complicated. You know, I have a saying that I'll use throughout my platform and I use when I talk. My goal as a quarterback, as a coach, as a play designer is to make the game as simple as possible, as quickly as possible. Make the game as simple as possible, as quickly as possible. And that was how I wanted to play the game when the ball was in my hands at the NFL level. How quickly can I make this game simple? How quickly do I know where I need to read or who I need to have my eyes on and how to get the ball out of my hands? And that was the theory that I try to take to the high school level, is I want to make the game as simple as possible, as quickly as possible for my quarterback. Now, the hard part about that is sometimes it's got to be more complicated for some of the other guys to make it more simple for my quarterback. And I'm willing to challenge guys with that, knowing that, you know, we may not get to that level. But I'm going to challenge them with that because at the end of the day, I don't care if you're playing high school, college, or pro. Wins and losses or success and failure is going to hinge more on your quarterback than anywhere else. And you'll always have your exceptions, right? Got a great offensive line, great defense. I get that. But I'm just saying, for the most part, it's going to be quarterback driven, whatever level you play at. So I'm always trying to cater to my quarterback to go, I want this game to be as simple as possible, as quickly as possible for you. So I will coach other guys around them in that way. So my quarterback can see it and get the ball out of his hands. So we can be more successful that way. And that's kind of how I approach things. But I'll also tell you, you know, on the flip side of that is that I always coach to the smartest guy in the room. I don't ever put limitations on my guys until they show me that I have to put limitations on. I think, you know, people have been around me and my offense, and I've had coaches that go, oh my gosh, it's so complicated. And I'm like, it's really not, you know, because my son, one of my sons was playing varsity, another one was playing freshman. And I was able to take our offense and apply it to our freshmen and a lot of guys that hadn't really played a lot of football. And we had all kinds of success. And as long as they stayed with the rules of what we do offensively, it isn't that complicated. If you look at it thrown up against a wall, you might say, oh my gosh, this seems really complicated. But if you learn it conceptually and you understand the basics of it, it's really not that difficult. And there's a lot of cheats within the offense that make it easier. And so the bottom line is I coach to the smartest guys in the room. And I try to push everybody there. I want to see what everybody can do. I don't want to go in going, oh, I don't know if they can do this. I can always pull back. I can always go, oh, well, they can't do that. So, all right, we're going to have to eliminate that, and we can still be successful, and that's fine. But I want to give my guys every opportunity to succeed. So I'm going to play to the smartest guy in the room, and then I'll adjust there. I think a lot of coaches go the other route. Well, I'm going to play and put in the basics and what I know everybody can handle. And I just have always looked at it like, well, that to me sacrifices, A, what our potential could be, that patronizes some guys that we just assume they can't learn or they can't, you know, get better at all that. And I want to push them to whatever level. And then I want to make sure my smart guys, my guys that can do more, that want to play at a higher level, are getting pushed to the point where I am maximizing their talent, I am maximizing their experience, and I'm maximizing my ability to get them ready for what's next for them. So all that to be said, you know, I use simplicity and complexity, and I tie them together to try to make us as complete as possible in our offense. But that's what I learned at the NFL level. You can make it seem complicated, but it really isn't if you understand what's trying to be done. And you can have success with the simplest things where you don't have to overcomplicate it in most situations. And you can still be very, very successful if you have the details, if you run it right. And at the end of the day, if you can make it as simple as possible, as quickly as possible for your quarterback.
I like that. And I want to ask a follow-up question to that. I'm the other way. I like to go simple, and then if they get it, get more complex. I want to get better at that and go to your route. What is something I could do to break free from that thought process of simple to complex and then go the other way?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and again, I just kind of keep pointing back to my platform because we don't have a chance to talk about this. I could talk about it for days. But I think what you will see on the playbook portion of it is how so many things tie together. And there's so many things within our offense that have cheats. So for instance, if you follow along there, probably, I don't know, 20 or 25 segments in, we go to something in our offense that we call P concepts. So they're concepts in our offense that start with P. And so any concept in our offense that starts with P, it has a couple cheats in it for our players. And so we can add a few more concepts, but some of those nuances and details are, because everything starts with P, it doesn't seem like it's more complicated, right? Yeah, we've added a different ending part, a different route that you're running, but those basic details that we teach, we've given you something to go, okay, we've got another P concept. Oh, another P concept. I know what I'm doing at the number 3. I know what my release pattern is here. And so it's always, to me, about building in things that can make it easier to your guys so you can be a little more complex in your design, but the details don't change. So we don't have a bunch of just random terms out there that confuse guys and they have to memorize everything. Even though things are memorized. So for instance, we've got a play that we call Poco. All right. So Poco to us is a P concept. And so we've got a post on the outside. We've got a corner on the inside. And then our number 3 knows, because it's a P concept, he's running a flat. And our number 2 knows his release pattern because it's a P concept. And so now, okay, we've added another play. But if you hear the play, we've just told everybody what to do. Oh, it's a post, it's a corner, it's a flat because it's a P concept. And so now if you can see it big picture wise, it gives us the ability to make it more complex, yet still keep it simple. And so that's what I'm always trying to do, is make sure that things tie together in the offense. So where it appears more complicated, or where somebody might look on a board and go, oh my gosh, we got 20 different concepts in that look. Well, yeah, but we do. But A, they've shown me they can do it. But B, all of these things stem off the exact same thing. So they all look alike to the 5-yard mark or to the 10-yard mark. Now it's a matter of, can I build something into the term where now they know, oh, I'm going in or I'm going out. I'm running a corner or I'm running a post. And so that to me is, I'm always trying to go, I want to challenge myself to make it complex, but easier for my guys. I don't want to challenge my guys by making it more complex for them. I want to challenge myself in that way. And so that's what I do as a coach, is go, okay, my biggest benefit is not going to be creating 110 pass plays for us, because I know that they'll all work against these high school teams that won't be able to cover it. Can't do that at the high school level. So my challenge at the high school level is to go, okay, let's make the game plan as small as we can, but also as complex, and be able to attack everything we want to attack. So now that's my challenge as a coach at the high school level, is to be creative that way. So I can get everything we need to get, and I can make sure that my guys can be successful, but I don't have to try to fit, a round peg into a square hole and go, okay, we've only got these 8 concepts. So, most of them aren't good against this coverage, but we're going to have to call it anyways and hope our guys can be successful. No, I want to have a play that attacks that coverage, that coincides with another play that we run a lot. And so it's still simple, yet, it is more complex than just having one play. But now I've given you answers and a chance to be successful if we happen to see that this particular week. And so we'll have times where I'll put in, 3 or 4 plays in a week, because I know we're going to see something different than what we've seen previously. And so I'll have to challenge my guys and go, okay, this week we're putting in 4 new plays, guys, and we'll go over it and we'll teach it and we'll try to stay true to our rules. But we're going to get a little more complicated, because at the end of the day, this is going to help you to be more successful. And like I talked about expectations before, there will be times, especially at the high school level, where I do that And I have to go in with the expectation that we might not execute this. And at the end of the day, I'm going to have to point back to me and go, yeah, guys, it's okay. We weren't successful. That's on me. I asked you to do something that was more complicated than what you could do. And I'm glad I did it because I felt like it gave us an opportunity to succeed. And we practiced, and I hope that you could get there. But I can't fault you for not doing it because I'm asking you to do something that is a little above your pay grade. And I have to understand that. And that becomes the challenge of where I'm at mentally, where I have played, what I'm trying to do, how I have to coach at the high school level, how I give my kids the best chance to succeed. But if you're not in a situation where you're just more physically dominant than the other team, or, scheme wise, you can do something so well, you've got the pieces to do something so well that you can always fall back on that. I feel like sometimes you have to err on pushing the envelope, but always being able to be ready to go. That's on me. I understand where what I've done to push this envelope. And when they do it, you're pumped and you're excited and you pat them on the back. And I think everybody feels great because we put it in a new play and we executed it and we were successful. And when they don't, I have to look at myself and go, hey guys, don't worry about it. It's not on you. Don't fret. That was on me. We tried something. I asked you to do something that was hard for you, and I can accept that. And I accept that responsibility as a coach. And so I know my roles and I know what I have to do and I know the teams that I'm on. And so I'm trying to find the mix of all of those things. And here's the other thing is that I also realize that my kids like the complex stuff. They like the 3 or 4 plays that we add every week, and they get excited about that. Not that there's anything wrong with running the same plays every week, being really good at it and having success, but my guys like to be challenged. My guys like to think. My guys like to go in and say, hey, we put this play in this week, and then it works on a Friday night, and it's the best play of our season because they remember coach challenged us with something, and he told us it was going to play out like this on the field. And we executed it and it played out just like that. We got a touchdown. That was my favorite play of the week. And so again, let's not forget that it is fun. And it's not all about, can I run for 300 yards running the same play over and over and over again? Maybe that's what it's about. But maybe it's about my quarterback going, coach, can we throw the ball 3 times this game? Yeah, we can. Let's do it. Let's do it. We might not be as successful, but you're out here every day working. Let's do what you want to do every once in a while. Let's throw it around this game, even though we're not a throwing team. Oh, we lost? Oh my gosh, we lost. Did you have fun? Yeah, I had fun. Great. That's a win for me. So, and again, I talk about all the time when I talk about coaching too. I think one of the greatest benefits that I have is that I call myself a part-time coach. And what I mean by that is I'm not a part-time coach in terms of how much time I put in. You can ask my wife. She thinks it's 2 jobs, and she says she never signed up for it with high school coaching. But I don't say that in terms of time. I say that in terms of how I approach it. That I was fortunate to have an NFL career. I was fortunate to play in Super Bowls and win the Hall of Fame or get in the Hall of Fame. And so I'm not trying to prove anything coaching high school football. I am not trying to improve my record. I am not trying to show a bunch of people that I'm really smart at this game. I'm not worried about, my quarterback, in essence, throwing for 350 yards. I don't have any of that comes to the table with me. I am not trying to, stroke my ego or, fill out my resume at all. And I know some people are, and some people, they want to go from high school to college and they have to check those boxes. I understand that. But I ultimately believe coaching is about people that you're coaching, and it's about the kids that you're coaching. And I say I'm fortunate because I don't have to worry about if I get fired because we go 0-9. I don't have to worry about that. It is what it is. All I have to worry about is doing whatever I can to give every one of my kids that I'm coaching a better experience, to give them what they need to go to the next level. So, that to me is how I come into it. And so that's where I say, I understand that I'm blessed to be a part-time coach where I can truly come in and say, guys, I am here for you. Whatever you need me to do, I'm here to do. If it's less, I'll do less. If it's more, I'll do more. But it is all about my players. And I think that's the only way that I could do it at the high school level because of the challenges, because of my mindset, because of, what I've always wanted to accomplish and always wanted to be the best and want everybody. I had to go in with that approach, and having the career that I did has allowed me to really accept that role in a fashion that's different than most coaches. And I understand that. And I don't know how a coach that's, coaching for his job every year or coaching for a promotion deals with that. But I ultimately believe that's the best way to always coach, no matter what level you're at, is to be able to set your ego down at the door and go, my goal is to get the best out of my team. My goal is to give them what they need out of this game and send them off in a better place than they were when they got here, and not to fill my resume. As hard as I know that is, and as difficult as it is, once again, that's why I see myself as extremely blessed to be a coach now, because I don't have to worry about that stuff that comes with it.
Okay. That's freaking unbelievable. And I like that. I like you. Every time I talk to you and listen to you, you're always about the relationships and the whys. And I like that. And you also, coaches, I can't say enough good things about QB Confidential. Now, Coach, I'm putting you on the spot. Is there any way you could share your screen and walk us through what makes this platform so great?
I actually don't.
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I know, and it's just I can't pull it. I can't pull it up on the screen. So I wish I could kind of pull out. I'm trying to think if there's a way I can pull out some of the. No, I mean, I think really what makes it great is it's twofold. First of all, is that there's so many different parts to it that to me is what's going to make it truly unique. It's not going to be based just on one area. It to me is all inclusive in terms of what are you trying to get out of this? Are you simply trying to learn the game of football better? We've got our blackboard breakdowns that will help you do that. If you want to, like you were saying, if I want to learn how to throw, I didn't play quarterback. Nobody's ever taught me how to throw a football. I'm out there trying to do the best that I can after watching a video or just after throwing, my entire life. The on the field part will take you through the basics of that, and we'll continue to add layers to that. The playbook piece, to me, I think it would help anybody. It will help a defensive coach to go, oh my gosh, this is what they look at, and this is okay. Now this is how I have to counter that. Well, shoot, I can't even counter that, or how would I do that? To every offensive coach, to be able to challenge the details of even the simplest of plays, to look at things differently, and then every quarterback, that to me is a huge piece. Is not just being able to throw a football, but to be able to understand what goes into it. The outside the box piece, which is the mental part of it, to be able to share the story, that to me speaks, as I said before, to everybody. No matter what job you have, no matter if you're a parent or a teacher or a coach or a business person, that's really just about, leadership and mental foundation and the ability to look at life in a certain way and to attack life in a certain way. And then ultimately you finish with the film study, which is a great way of kind of bringing all of the knowledge together and going, okay, there'll be some times where I discuss a play in playbook. We insert a play in playbook, and then I'll break that down in my study ball session at the end of the week, my film session at the end of the week. So now I'm taking what I taught you and I'm putting it onto the field and showing how it applies, where it's good, where it's bad, maybe sometimes where they didn't do the details that I had talked about, and here's how it shows up on the film. So that to me, there's just so many different layers to it that is what makes it unique, what makes it different from from I think a lot of stuff that's going to be out there. I think it's extremely affordable, which to me was a key piece. And then I believe it's something that can speak to people on whatever level they're on. If you're picking up a football for the first time, you can jump in and you can start learning day one. I've got people that are fans, have been huge fans of the game for 20 years that I've sent some of the stuff to, and they're like, I learned something new in every episode that I didn't know before. I take the approach in my very first session, and it was actually if you jumped on the platform, very first session of Blackboard Breakdowns, I talk about how I want to start from a lower level and continue to build up, because I don't want to just skip over things, and I don't want to just speak to people that have known the game for a long time. So there will be lessons where you'll flip it on in the first couple of minutes and go, oh, I already know this. But I always, I say in that first episode, the first time I'm on screen, is I say, whenever I played the game, all the way up until the last day that I played the game, I always took the first time, every time approach. And so every time I was learning something, that a coach was up there teaching me something, or I was in, a session where somebody was lecturing me on something. And no matter how many times I've gone through it, if I've been in the offense for 10 years and it was the first install we put in all 10 years, that I go into that room and I approach it and I listen as if it's the first time that I've ever heard it. So in other words, I'm asking questions as if I don't know anything, to specify the details. I'm listening to see if maybe they say and present it a little bit differently this time than it was presented last year. I'm taking detailed notes on all the, okay, where's their split? Okay, what's the release? All right, how's my drop connect to this? Okay, what am I thinking first? Where are my eyes going to be? First time, every time. And that to me is something that, with the coaches out there listening, that I would encourage them on this platform, because it will it'll get more in depth, and it'll grow as we go through this thing. It'll be a little simpler in basic forms early on, because I want everybody to understand and speak the language that I speak. But I still believe, even in those things, that you can learn something, that everybody's going to be able to learn on each episode, or at least most of them, something that they haven't heard before, or taught a different way, or it said a different way that they can take and apply to what they're doing, or challenge what they're already doing. And so that to me is what's so exciting about it. When I started, piecing it together and thinking about what I wanted to do, it was like, okay, what are the most important pieces? And, what do you want to focus on? And, all these things would keep coming to mind. And I'm like, well, I can't really teach this without having that. And I can't just do this if I don't show how it connects to that. And then if I'm not able to put film out there and kind of show how it connects, that doesn't work. And then there's the whole piece of, you can have all the knowledge and skill that you want, if you don't have the mentality and you don't look and attack things the right way, then you're probably going to fall short too. And so ultimately it became all these things stacked together. And, the beautiful thing is, I also think not only the extent of the content, but the first year is designed in kind of 52-week curriculum type form. And so the first year of the platform, you will get something 5 days a week. If you stay on the weekly plan, you'll get something 5 days a week, every week out of the year. So you will get 52 episodes of each one of the segments to build off of. So every week you'll be able to set your clock that, okay, I'm getting the new playbook. We're adding a new play this week on playbook, and I'm going to expect that on Wednesdays. You got a new film session coming every Friday. And so that to me is another piece. I'm not sure there's many platforms out there where you're going to get 5 days a week of content for 52 weeks at any point in time that builds on top of each other. So those are just, to me, some of the things that make it unique and special, and that I really think people are going to enjoy. And again, I don't think, if you have anything to do with football and you like football in any way, shape, or form, I don't think you're going to be on the platform for a period of time and go, that wasn't worth it. I didn't get anything out of that, or I didn't learn anything from my time on that platform. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that to me is what it's all about, is, the value of whatever you're paying, it has to equal what you're getting out of it. And there's just too much information there to think anybody's going to think, oh my gosh, I didn't get, $7.99 or $9.99 or whatever it is out of this month of QB Confidential, because there's just, to me, so much great information on it.
I agree. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen. So I've got it pulled up. I just wanted to, this is what you get, or here's the access. And coaches, I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, where for the price of a coffee, a month, you get to learn from a Hall of Famer. I mean, where can you learn that from the quarterback, and what I'm really interested in? And I'm glad that you're releasing it now during spring break, so I can dive all into it outside the box. I really like that Corey, because you have a little preview on your YouTube page as well about it. And I can't wait to dive into it. So coaches, the link is in the comment.
So, hey, if you don't mind, pop that back up there, Coach.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, so just gonna talk to. So go down a little bit further. And then there'll be a piece down here, even further down the bottom. So there's this coach's zone. And so right there, it doesn't really show a whole lot. But once you become a subscriber, that opens up a little bit. And so there will be a question and answer box there. And so that's a big piece of this, is I want to make sure it's interactive. And so if you go through a lesson and you go, okay, I got some questions on this, you'll have a chance to be able to shoot me a question, and hopefully at some point I can answer that. Or if you've just got an overall question or something that you'd like to see me hit on in another episode of one of these things, there will be a box to be able to do that. And then each week I'll post a few of those answers from a video perspective on there. So, I can reach out and we can stay interactive, because the bottom line is I really want to give everybody out there what they want out of this. So QB Confidential is obviously my mindset and viewpoint towards, okay, how do I build, better players, smarter coaches, and more informed fans? And this is how I laid it out there. But once again, I'm not the guy that thinks he's got everything. You can take it off now. It's not the guy that thinks he's got all the answers or has done everything right. So if there's things that I'm missing, or things that you would like to see, a play that you would like, me to install, that would be a fun thing. Is, hey, we run this play. You haven't put it in yet. I'd like to see you, insert it in playbook or break it down in breakdown. And so now I get a chance, because every time I see a play, I've got this, computer that goes off in my mind is, okay, what am I going to do on this play? And how would I run this play? And what are the details of this play? And where would I put my back on this play? And how would I? And so that's the kind of fun stuff that I believe can come in the future, is that, possibly live streaming some video, some film sessions where we're watching an NFL game and breaking down an NFL game. So all of that stuff is layers to come. But I really think that it's a neat piece. And you mentioned outside the box. It's amazing that, I put that in there. And, when I first started this, I started thinking, okay, well, this is probably going to be my favorite piece. And this is probably going to be my favorite section, because I like XOs and I like breaking down film. And the more I do those, and the more I go back and watch some of those, that really has become one of my favorite pieces. And I kind of liken it to a TED Talk, where each episode, I take a storyline or I take an experience that I had and kind of share that story and send a lesson off in 7 to 10 minutes that leaders can grab a hold of, or players can take with them, or coaches can apply. And I really do think that's a cool piece that can kind of live forever. And I always look for, for different questions, and things like that you can attack in there, is, how you approach different things, or when you went through this in your career, how did you handle it? So I just think there's a whole bunch there that if you explore it and dive into it, that you're really going to be impacted by something in there if you're a football lover. But in and of itself, I think if you just simply paid to get the outside the box piece and get one of those every week for the next year, you would feel like that will be well worth the value as you apply it to whatever career or business you're in.
Heck yeah. And I can't wait to dive in. And also, coaches, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I didn't even tell Kurt this. I have a summit. I'm giving away 3 team passes to that summit if you go ahead and sign up to Kurt's platform today. So all you have to do, you got to sign up, shoot me the sign up email that he gets to me. Let me know that you signed up. And you get access to the team, or entered into the team pass giveaway. Because I really believe in this platform. I freaking can't wait to dive into it, to learn from you, Kurt, and to actually just, there's nowhere that you get 52 weeks of stuff being released from someone of your caliber. I appreciate you being here. I know you're a busy man. My wife just called me and she was like, okay, buddy, it's time. I gave you enough.
I mean, I enjoy this stuff. And so I appreciate you having me on. So I can stay a few more minutes if you got any other questions.
Yeah, I have a couple more, and okay. She can chop me in the face. That's fine. Actually, this is from Coach James. He is in Israel right now watching. He wanted to say first.
Israel. All right. I love it.
Thanks for doing this. And also he wants to know if your coaching staff only had 3 coaches, a head coach, offensive coordinator, and a defensive coordinator, how would you divide the team, and how would you divide the head coach's time during practice?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, I mean, if I only had 3 coaches, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to take the other 2 coaches and coach them on what I'm coaching. I'm going to take them in the off season and teach them what I'm doing, because it's going to be impossible for you to coach everybody on a team every single practice if you're the only offensive coach that they have. And so what I would do is I would try to devise a plan in my practices where we devoted time specifically to offense and devoted time specifically to defense. And I would call my defensive coordinator and go, I need you to come over this offseason. I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to teach you offensive line play, or I'm going to teach you something, because, and then I would do the same with my head coach, and I would split that up. And I would do the same defensively. It would be like, all right, here's my knowledge base. You got to teach me, but I'll come over and teach your guys. And then, of course, when we want to scrimmage, we'll each do our side of it. But I also believe that, a head coach, I still believe that their ultimate responsibility will be to manage the players, will be to build relationships and connect with the players. I would never want to take that role from them and make them more of a X's and O's coach. Nothing wrong with that. Most coaches have an expertise, and they'll call plays or they'll lead the offense or whatever. But I still ultimately believe your head coach needs to be the leader of your football team and needs to be the guy that connects and has relationships. That's his first responsibility, is to make sure that the team is running smoothly from a relational standpoint, not from a wins and losses, not from an X's and O's. That's a responsibility, of course, that's part of it. But I always want my head coach to be able to do that. And so one of the things that I do anytime I'm on staff is I basically let my head coach know that if I have to, I can do all this on my own. If I have to, I can coach every single position on offense. And I can call plays and I can do the game. I can do everything. If you need to do what you need to do to make us a good team by being a head coach, and you need to fulfill your responsibility of making sure every kid gets what they want out of this, so be it. You don't ever have to touch the offense. I'll handle that, and I'll take the responsibility, whatever that looks like. So I always want to free my head coach up to do what I believe his most important responsibility is. And then beyond that, as I said, I would try to get as many people as possible to help me. Maybe it's a player. Maybe there's one position that has more knowledge. I'm thinking in Israel, one position or a few guys that have more knowledge than everybody else. I may take them in and teach them something. Hey, tomorrow we're going to put in this play. I'm going to teach you how to do this, and I'm going to have you run that drill because I've got to be over here teaching my quarterbacks how to do it. So I'm going to make you an extension of my leadership, and I need you to teach this, and I trust you to have the knowledge to do that. But delegate where you can delegate. You take on the responsibility that you have to take on, but you make sure that everybody gets to do their primary role first. And so you're at least putting your best foot forward. But don't get me wrong, having 3 coaches on your staff trying to coach a team is going to be a challenge for anybody. There is going to be things that come up that you are not going to be able to answer. And so going back to what I was talking about before, go in with realistic expectations of what you can honestly expect from yourself, from the coaching staff, from your team. Because if you don't, and you think you can be everything, to everybody and coach everybody the same with 3 people on your staff, you're going to kill yourself first, but you're never going to be happy because you're never going to do it well enough. So expectations on what people's roles are, how you can tap into different people, I think are important. But also, having realistic expectations or understanding the limitations that you face is a huge part of coaching, right? Is not going in and hitting your head against a wall going, well, why aren't we more successful? And why aren't we doing this? Without really understanding, dude, you've had to coach every single position. I mean, I don't have enough time to coach quarterbacks. When I'm simply coaching quarterbacks at the high school level, to possibly coach 5 different positions and do it well, it's just not going to happen. So you got to have a realistic expectation on what you're going into and where you're going to fall short. And you got to be okay with that. Otherwise, again, you got to step out of the role and go, I mean, I can't do this. And rightfully so. And go find a role that you can do and that you can have realistic expectations and you feel like you can do as well as you need to do to feel successful and happy in that position.
Okay, great answer. And you're right. There are a lot of coaches that I talked to from the smaller league, smaller ball in high school that only have 3 coaches, and I like they want to like I got to do it all, and it's like nobody. There's only 3 of you, so you got to kind of. Do you think there's an offense or a defense that they can run that can help them a little bit? Like, can they get as complex, or should they kind of simplify it a little bit and dive in? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think always. I mean, but to me, I'm one that doesn't always say, well, you can always just do this offense. I'm one that just says you got to figure out what your team is, and then you got to find the best offense that fits into that scheme. So what I might say is, oh yeah, I would keep it to 2 runs. And, I might say to myself, well, I would pick these 2 runs. Well, I mean, maybe I don't have anybody they can pull. So, I mean, trying to just become a team that pulls or run trapped or some kind of counter, maybe you're just going, well, that's not right. So I'm not a believer that there's only one kind of offense. I think there's a lot of different offenses. And again, depending on the level, like high school level, there are a lot of offenses that can be successful. And, everything from a wing tee to a spread. I mean, everything, depending on what your skills are and what you do well and who your smart guys on your team are. And so I don't really do that. And, as I said before, and again, I come in as a part-time coach. Another thing that I do when I come in every year is I also look at my guys and I try to read the room and go, what do you guys have fun doing? I mean, the wing team might win us 8 games, but you might have no fun running it. And so let's go be spread. Let's go throw the ball around. And we might not be any good from a standpoint of wins and losses, but if it's what you guys want to do and you want to have fun, let's do it. If you want to run the football, or you got to, guys that are excited about that, a good offensive line that get pumped up every time you hand the football off. Let's become maybe more of a running football team because we have strengths and that's what our guys enjoy doing. My quarterback, what do you like to do? What do you like to throw? What are your favorite plays? I'm going to build those into our offense because that's what's most important to me. And again, it's not to the extent that it becomes no fun because we're so bad at it that I'm just going to go, oh, so what? It started out as fun. So, I mean, I'm still going to find the balance. But my point being is that I always want to go in with an open mind to what are my skill sets of my players? What do I think we can do well? And then at the end of the day, win, lose, or draw, what do you want to do? What's your ownership in this thing? This isn't just Kurt's offense. I mean, I know what I would do. I know what I'm good at. It doesn't matter if you can do what I can do or what I did in the NFL. I want to do what plays to your guys' strength and what's going to allow you guys to come off the field and know that you had a good time and you had fun and we pushed the envelope and you're getting to do on the football field what you wanted to do, no matter how good we are at it or not. So, I think there's so many different ways to look at football. And when it gets to the NFL level and it's about success and it's about winning and about getting contracts, that becomes, a different beast in why you do it. But, I think most of the college coaches and high school coaches and college obviously is getting more and more that way. But, I always want it to be about the people that I'm coaching. And I want that to drive everything we do. And I want to have the flexibility and the knowledge to be able to cater to those things. And I think that's ultimately what's always going to make me, a better coach if I could have that flexibility.
I like that. I like that you're also giving your players a say. And again, building that relationship with your players.
Yeah. I just did an outside the box recently just about ownership. And I shared a little story about Todd Haley when he was with us at the Cardinals. And we basically did every game plan together. I would draw pages and pages of plays that I liked against the team that we were playing, and we would discuss them and we would fit plays together. And that to me was one of the most fun seasons that I had because I felt true ownership in what we were doing. And that ownership also led to the responsibility that I felt to be successful, right? It's one thing if a coach puts in a play and calls a play and you go, oh, it didn't work, it wasn't a very good play. It's another thing if I put in a play and I say, coach, I really like this play, I'll make it work. And now I got to go out there and he calls that play and I'm pumped and excited. but I feel a different level of responsibility to that because I have a true ownership in what we're doing. And so I'm a firm believer that, once again, this can extend to life, to business, to football, that you're going to get the best out of everybody if they truly feel like they're a part of the team and they're an integral part, and they have ownership in what you're trying to accomplish. Not just ownership in what they want to accomplish, but ownership in what we're trying to accomplish. And so ownership to me is extremely, extremely huge, both from my personal perspective, but also making sure that I give that same type of ownership to my players.
This is a beautiful segue from Coach Marco, who asked a question. How much control of the offense are you willing to give your quarterback?
Well, I think it goes back to the same thing that I talked about before. I want to keep it simple, but I'll make it as complex as they can make it. And one thing that I've been very fortunate with is that I haven't necessarily been on the most talented high school teams, but I've had some really, really good quarterbacks. So I've been fortunate that I see where my strengths are. And so I start putting more and more on the quarterback to do, because I know everybody else didn't have the capabilities of doing that. And so I will give them some responsibility if they show me that they can live up to that responsibility. And so, again, it's hard to go into all the details, but we do a lot of run checks where my quarterback has the ability to get us into the right run based on the front that we see. We have alert packages where it allows us to go from a run to a pass or a pass to a run based on the look that we're seeing. We've got RPOs that are built in. We've got obviously our no huddle packages that are built in, but they all have to show me that responsibility that they can do it. I don't want to have a quarterback that just wants to throw it every time. And so, I give him an alert and he alerts to the pass every single time, even though it's not best for the team. And so I want them to have that control, because at the end of the day, once again, you put your ego at the door. And, I'm always amazed by these coaches that design these plays to be good against one coverage. And they sit there and go, well, don't worry about it. I will call it against that coverage every time. And I've been in the game long enough to know, no, you won't. I don't care how smart you are. The guys on the other side are smart too. And inevitably, they're going to call something different at some point. And I'm not going to have an answer to it because you thought you were smarter than everyone else. I don't ever do that with my teams, is that the more they can handle and the more I can put it in my quarterback's hands. Now, I will say, I will never be a coach that has my team go up to the line of scrimmage, see what the defense is running, look over at me on the sideline, and then I call the play. I will never do that because to me, I want them to be able to play the game. I want them to be able to react. I want them to show what they're capable of. Not, am I smart enough to see what the defense is doing and call the perfect play every time? I would rather them be able to do that. So I would rather have an alert package where it's like, it's on you. Here you go. And I can stand on the sideline and I know exactly what I'm going to do, but I don't care. It's not about me. I want him to be able to do it. I want him to be able to get us into the right play and take ownership of that and get excited about those things. So once they show me that they can do that and live up to the responsibility of it, I will put more on their plate. And it will be the same with all my players. So my other son, I've got a son that plays quarterback and then a son that plays wide receiver. And so I coached my son that was a wide receiver when he played for us in high school. And he had a season where he caught 98 passes. And, a lot of people would they don't know any different. And they would just look at it and go, well, of course, because dad threw to his son every single time. Well, first of all, I didn't have the ball in my hand, so I didn't throw it. But secondly, the reason he got 98 touches was because he was a student of the game and he could play every position. He could put his hand on the ground as a tight end. He could play in the backfield. He could play running back. He could play inside, outside, wide. He could do everything. And I tell my guys all the time, I'm like, the more you can do, the more chances you'll have to impact our team. Because it's so funny. Like, well, when we get to the, NFL level and you've got a great player, don't you build your offense around the great player? Well, yeah. And so I've watched a million different high school teams play, and they hand the ball off to their running back for 600 yards rushing in a game, 400 yards rushing in a game. And it's like, how is that any different than throwing it to your best player or designing. But my point is simply that I will cater to what my players can do at whatever position, right? If I've got a running back that can catch it out of the backfield, he'll run for 1,000 yards and he'll catch for 1,000 yards. And I will put in as much as I can to get him the football in whatever position I feel he can get it that week to be successful. So to me, it's all about flexibility. I want my players to take ownership, as we just talked about. I want them to want to have a bigger role, to want coach to put plays in for them this next week, to give me the opportunity to run no huddle because he trusts me that I'll get us into the right play. And now I'm feeling really good and confident about myself because coach trusted me and I didn't even need his help, right? I could do it all on my own. And now that's my best game. Even if we lost, and I got to run the no huddle. Right? I mean, and that to me, once again, is what coaching is all about. And so I always want to have that flexibility. I always want to play to my strongest players. And I tell all my players every year, I never go in with a set idea of who's going to play for me. Now, we're all going to have indications based on the year before, who we know our talented guys are, all that stuff. But I tell my guys all the time, I say, the first thing is know what to do. If you know what to do, you can help us on the football field. And then the second thing is the more you can do. So if you can know your job and you can learn a bunch of other jobs, you will have a chance to play and impact our football team. And that is open to everybody. If you don't want to learn and you know that you're talented, I probably will be able to stick you over at the X position. And, you're going to be stuck at the X position and we'll throw the ball to you when we can. But a team can easily double team you and take you out of the game if you're our best player. But if that's all you're willing to do, no problem. We'll put you over there and you can do what you want to do. But if you want to learn 5 different positions, well, now your most talented player and you can do the most, I will get you the ball every week. I will make sure, because you're putting in this work and you're learning this stuff, you have an opportunity to succeed every single week. And you're going to have a blast playing in this offense because I can think of a million different plays for you. I can come up with a million things to do with you if that's what you want to do. And that's how I feel about coaching, is that's my role, is I'm going to untap whatever I can untap to tap into the best of my players and what my players want to do and what they want to get out of it. And so I go in with that mindset. I got flexibility and I will give every one of my players full control if they show me that they can help. I'll stand over on the sideline and let them call their own plays. Let them design their own stuff every week if they can handle it. If they come to me and it's good stuff. And by the way, that's something that I do with my players. There'll be times that I go home and say, hey, draw up a couple plays that you like this week. Let me see what you got. And I always hope that they come back with a great play. And even if it's a trick play, I'm like, you guys go talk about it. You guys put together 2 trick plays for this week. And we'll practice them and we'll run them. And they love it because they're taking ownership and they're having a blast. And, they just feel like, hey, coach, just wants what we want. And that's ultimately what I want out of coaching, is I want what those guys want. And they're willing to show me every year, show me what you're about. Show me what you're capable of doing. Show me how smart you can be, how complex we can be. And I promise you, we will challenge you in the way that you want to be challenged, or we will keep it as simple as you want it to be simple, if that's your perspective.
I like that. I'm stealing the trick play thing, by the way, because that's something I got to get better at calling. And it's also a way to give them ownership and let them create a play. And you can just let 5 minutes of practice. They have to run it. You're like, hey, this is your time. Trick play time. Go.
We are the best trick play team in the country, I think. We might not be good at everything else, but we just make a point of it. And our head coach is the same way. Like, quit calling trick plays. But our kids love it. Yeah. Right? I mean, they love it. They love practicing it. It gets them excited at practice when we go into our specials period and we've got 4 different guys throwing the football, right? Or we're feeding somebody that wouldn't normally get it, or we're trying to put something in for an offensive lineman. Again, they leave practice, and I don't know if they learned anything else the other, hour and 55 minutes of practice. But they leave with a smile on their face going, that was the best practice. Or an offensive lineman just caught one in practice and he thinks it's the best day ever, even though I'll probably never call it in a game. But they love it. And so those are things that we always try to build in, because I never want to forget that the game is fun and that's what it's about. And so trying to figure out what is fun for my players is a big part of what we try to do offensively, and our coach gives us great freedom to do that, and he thinks of a lot of creative things to do for our kids to make sure that it's fun for them. And so that is, that's heavy in our weekly package. Even though they can get complicated sometimes, I think that the mental dividends that it plays, the mental well-being that your team has when they go into to something and you call that on the sideline and they're talking about it and their eyes get big and they're pumped. And then when you hit one of those, man, you got them forever. I mean, then it's the greatest thing. And then, they can't wait to run another one.
And they're like, that was my play. I created it. Coach called it. I'm taking the credit for it. And I know that an offensive lineman, one of your offensive linemen is going to be mad that you're not going to put in the hook and ladder to the offensive tackle. Have you seen that play with your hitch and then they pitch it to the offensive tackle?
I have seen that play. So you never know. Got to see what my tackles look like. See how well they can move. Maybe we put that in.
I know that every single offensive guy is going to come, offensive line, and be like, "Hey, coach, do you see it? We got to put." I've already gotten tagged a couple of times by my players, like, "This is going in at spring. I know it." And I'm like, "Okay, buddy, totally will. If you can move like that." That guy was moving too.
Yeah.
I got a couple more questions if you don't mind. A lot of coaches wanted to ask you, do you have any good plays into the boundary, like any passing concepts you like to run into the boundary? Because that's been a lot of what a lot of coaches have been researching in the offseason.
Yeah. I mean, at the high school level, I'm assuming most of the people are in the same boat that I'm in. It's extremely hard. I mean, I obviously have some that I think are better based on spacing, but I think we all know that it's a disservice to high school kids to have the hashes where they're at, because A, it eliminates half the field out to the field side because nobody can make a throw out there anyways. And B, it eliminates half your plays or more into the boundary because you can develop no spacing and you can't stretch a defense. And so, I think it's, again, I mean, I could probably, come up with a few that, that I run, but I'm the same way as everybody else. It's really, really hard. Things that I would probably do is I'm more apt to go 3-by-1 and use my back and my X conceptually to the weak side so I can try to push the defense. I think anytime you put an extra receiver over there, you're at a true disadvantage because it pushes that extra linebacker into the boundary. And again, there's just not enough space to create because it's such a small area from those high school hashes. So to me, it's better to kind of push it to the field, but then still design maybe your primary play that you want to throw to the boundary, but you're forcing the defense to move away from that as opposed to going heavy into the boundary formationally and think somehow you're going to overload the defense, which you might be able to overload them numbers wise, but you can't overload them spacing wise. And that to me is what football is all about. It's about numbers, but it's as much as anything about spacing. And so another plug to QBC, but week 2, if you become a subscriber, it unlocks week 2, for free. And week 2 in the Blackboard breakdowns, I talk about my 10 zone approach to reading the field. And it really kind of breaks down how I look at offensive football, is that it's not always about coverages and blah, blah, blah. It's more about spacing and being able to attack areas on the field and forcing the defense to have to cover those areas on the football field. So anytime you go into the boundary, you cut down the amount of space that they have to cover. And so just naturally, like I said, you can design plays to try to attack it, but it's just going to be harder. It's going to, because you're just not covering as much space, or they don't have to cover as much space, and it's going to make everything more complicated. So I would create ways to design things by not bringing the defense to the party, more than thinking, oh, I'm going to be able to do something really, unique over here and somehow beat them, which again, we can. It's just always going to be harder when they have less space to cover. And, that's the beautiful thing about NFL hashes, is that, they're so tight that everything comes into play when you're playing the game. When you're starting to take things away because the athletes are so good or because of the limitations in spacing, And that's why, I don't understand why at the high school level they're so wide, because they eliminate, a big portion of the field in both directions, because, the hashes just don't seem to fit and mesh. And they screw up spacing on just about everything that I do, because everything I teach is based on spacing, and they're so dramatically different that it makes it really hard on young players, I think, also to learn and to learn formations and where their alignments are on the field when you're, so drastically in different places all the time on the football field.
Yeah, I agree. And also, if I put 3-1 into the field, I rarely have a quarterback that can throw it all the way out there from one hash to the other. And
right.
that hurts the play
and,
calling
and
sometimes.
Smart defenses too understand that.
Yeah.
They understand, when you're playing to the back boundary, certain things you're just not going to be able to do at the high school level. Even with, quarterback that I coach is starting quarterback at USC now, freshman All-American at USC. And I never asked him to make those throws to the numbers to the field in high school. As good as he was, I still didn't ask him to do that. It was just impossible, and timing wise, and it's just so hard to do. And teams understand that. And that's, again, why I say that I just don't understand why they don't switch it and make it tighter, because to me, it's a bigger benefit for more reasons at the high school level than even at the pros. You did it at the pro level. Okay, now it's to me a harder game, and now you've got to add that in. But we've made it easier for the pros and harder for high school teams based on our hashes, which just to me doesn't make any sense.
All right. So what I get is we're going to start a petition. You're going to lead it. All of us coaches are going to sign it, because you are not the only one that has that. We all hate those freaking. That's why I'm jealous about Texas. I love Texas for many reasons, but the hashes is one of them.
Yeah, let's do it. Plus it keeps it universal, guys, to understand what they're doing at every level, to make those strides, coaches to be able to do similar. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I don't know who came up with it, but I'm all in on that charge.
Heck yes. All right. I'm gonna tag you on Twitter for that. Two more questions. One, I noticed, and a lot of other coaches noticed, when you had your little thing on your YouTube channel on Tua, you had your 3-part series, and something that I took away from watching it is the quick decisions that he made. I think that was the second of the 3 videos that you did. Is there a way for us coaches, on top of going to your platform, the QB Confidential, and diving into it, to teach our quarterbacks to have quicker decisions?
Well, it all goes back to those same themes. But I will say, there's always going to be a part of anything that is going to be based on your quarterback's ability to process and see and react positively. And so that, to me, is not always something that you can teach. Some guys can be really, really smart on a board, but you ask them to process it in four seconds, and sorry, it's just not going to work. Some guys just don't think like that and process like that. But I will say, I believe as much as anything with a lot of guys, it's having a plan. You have to have a plan. You have to give your quarterback answers. You've got to have, I want you to tell me, okay, if something happens, whatever you're talking about, that I need my quarterback to make quicker decisions, you need to tell me, okay, how are you going to make that? How do you make that decision? How do you make the decision quicker? So first tell me how you do that, what you're looking at, and you teach through that lens. But secondly, I would also say, and again, this can go back to the QB Confidential and things that I talk about in QB Confidential, specifically on the playbook, that I'm big into. If you want your quarterback to make quicker decisions, you've got to make the defense make quicker decisions. So I'm all about, you'll hear me say this numerous times if you're on the platform, I want to make defenders cover width and depth. I want to get defenders to move. I do not want a defender to ever be able to stand still at any point in time. So everything I build into my offense is trying to move, trying to get somebody, playing against somebody's strength, knowing what the defense is supposed to do. So now I'm going to attack them, so they have to move in that direction. Otherwise, they get beat. So if you want your quarterback to make quicker decisions, then you've got to make sure he can see that decision quicker. So how do you do that? How do you design that? How do I get, if you're reading the outside backer, how do I get that outside backer to give me a read quicker? That's where it's always going to start. How am I going to get him to move? Because if a guy doesn't move as a quarterback, and again, there may be times where if he doesn't move, that means somebody else is open. But the point being is most times we're trying to get movement by the defense. The free safety moves left, I throw right. If the strong, the same linebacker covers the flat, I throw the curl. If he runs to the flat, I'm going to the curl. I don't ever want it to be where. So let me give you just a quick example here.
Okay.
Of something that I. To pop up there. Okay. So we'll just go back to the same idea, the same concept. So we're running a curl right outside. All right. So again, it's football 101. So we know in this play, we're going to end up reading this outside linebacker, and we're going to have this wide going to the flat in some way, shape, or form. I'll see a lot of people coach this where they push this guy up 3, 4, 5 yards and have him more run an out route with a curl back behind. And so this to me is a classic example that this defender that I'm reading, and I'm reading him whether he's going outside or staying inside, right? That's what I'm reading. So this defender does not have to give my quarterback a read until my Y gets to 4 yards and breaks outside. So when I teach stuff like this, I want my Y to get width and depth at the same time. So if I've got leverage on this Y right now, which is normally going to happen with the Sam linebacker, he's going to be just inside that Y in some way, shape, or form. And my Y is running to the sideline right now. How quickly does your quarterback get a read? If that Sam doesn't move, Y's open. It's over. It's done. If he wants to cover the Y, dude better get on his horse and take off right now. So my quarterback gets a read right now on what is going to happen. I push this guy up 3 to 4 yards. All this does is delay the read. I can't throw the curl. 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 I can finally throw the curl. And so that has to mesh with the 5-step drop and a hitch and a timing if you want the ball to be out on time. And so that's just a very simple example of what I'm talking about with if you want your quarterback to make quick decisions, then set it up where he's going to be able to make a quick decision based on getting the defense to declare something very quickly. The longer that takes, the harder it's going to be. And like I said, there's going to be guys that just can't do it as quickly as other guys. But even if that's the case, I don't care if you process quickly or you don't, which one of those makes sense to have your quarterback make a quicker decision? I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? Yeah. I'm forcing that guy to cover right now. I am forcing him to move right now. If not, he lost, right? If not, I've got a decision for my quarterback on the first 2 steps if the Sam doesn't move. If the Sam chases and tries to cover that Y, I've got a decision for my quarterback off the first 2 steps because he turned and ran. Yes, he can take 2 or 3 steps and then peel off to the curl. Yeah, all that stuff at next levels. But my point being is that I'm getting a definitive answer for my quarterback as quickly as I possibly can. And that becomes the key for me with offensive football. And if you want your quarterback to make quick decisions, have a plan, tell him what that plan should be, have answers for him no matter what happens, but design in such a way that you're setting him up to have the ability to make quick decisions. However quick that is for your guy, give him the opportunity to be able to find that out as soon as possible. If he knows what he's looking at, if he knows what his answers are, all of that stuff. But that's how I try to design football, right? It goes back to my theory. Try to make the game as simple as possible, as quickly as possible. And if I'm reading the outside backer, it becomes simple when I give you a read off of your first 2 steps. You're still dropping back, and that guy has declared something. Otherwise, he loses. And that to me is how I like to coach football. And that's just one example of helping your quarterback to make quicker decisions is the help you give him. right? It's easy to just go, oh, well, read the Sam linebacker and then watch the film and go, well, that Sam linebacker, as soon as our guy broke out at 5 yards, he broke out with him. Why didn't you throw it quicker? Well, okay, because it didn't time up very well, and I was waiting, and you're right. He did win at the top, but it took me so long that I'm trying to figure things out because I'm almost to the top of my drop, or I'm sitting at the top of my drop, and I haven't got a declaration of what I should be reading, and the play didn't help me get that declaration. He covered the out to 4 yards, and he covered the curl at the same time, so I had nothing to decide until he finally broke out, and now sometimes I'm playing catch up, or that's why it took me so long to get the ball out of my hands, because I'm waiting for that guy to do something, and you didn't force him to do something with the way that you ran the route.
I like that. And it ties back into the story of the play. You have to know the 5 questions and where's your biggest problem. If you push him and then break out, that doesn't help the quarterback.
What D or defender am I attacking? So what is his responsibility, and how am I attacking him to force his responsibility to be tougher, to force him to do what I want him to do, so I can counter that, or I can have something off of that. So it goes back to, like you said, answering those questions, and answering the question number 2 is, okay, I'm trying to throw it to the curl. Okay, so I need to get that sandbacker out of it. What is the best way to get that guy out of it? Now you might say the opposite. Well, I'm trying to throw the out. Okay, if you're trying to throw the out, so be it. Then if that's the case, maybe you want to run it like that, but you don't put a curl behind it, because we've made it easier on him. If I want to throw the out, I'll put an in back behind that. So now if he goes to cover the out, now I've got something coming right back into the area that he voided, and it's easy. I mean, just in his example, but I'm always knowing, okay, who is that I'm attacking, and what's the best way to attack his responsibility on that particular play.
I love it. I love it. Coaches, and y'all are right. This is really good stuff. They're bragging about you in the comments. Last question, I promise. Last time we talked, you were talking about you like to watch TV shows, and you were asking coaches or people like, hey, what's a good TV show? Because, it was just starting the lockdown. I want to turn it to you. Besides watching this, I have a lot of free time, and I'm going to dive into the website. But what's a good TV show that you think I should watch during my spring break?
Man, it depends on what you like. But obviously, as a coach, you got to watch Ted Lasso if you haven't watched it yet.
Okay, I have heard a lot of good things about
It's fun. It's from a coaching perspective, and I think it's so much what we've talked about today. Less about winning and more about relationships, and just it's really well done. It's good. Something else that we've watched is Your Honor with Bryan Cranston. I mean, anything that guy does is awesome. But being a father, that's a pretty crazy and intense show that we've watched recently. Those are a couple. My wife's really the TV person, and she just pulls me in. She has us watching Yellowstone as well.
My wife likes that.
So she really likes that, and most people I talk to really like that. It's gotten to the point for me that there's not a lot of redeeming qualities in that show, and so I'm not much into shows that don't have a redeeming quality with some of the characters somewhere. So it's lost its grip on me because of that. But the first, I don't know how many seasons, first season or 2 is really good. I mean, there's some really good pieces to it. So that's another thing that we've watched recently. So there's a few for you that should keep you busy.
I am the first thing, Ted Lasso. I'm going to go and get it now.
Oh yeah. It's good. It's funny stuff.
I can't wait. Kurt, thank you so much for being here, man. This has been fun. Again, coaches, his platform, it is in the comments right now. I will be emailing it out as well. So you're going to get that. And I'm still running that contest. Best of luck to you. Anything else besides, this great platform and your YouTube channel you want to talk about?
I mean, it's all good. It's all great. It's just everybody out there just know that, once again, the platform's not about me. It's about you guys. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Give me your thoughts. Give me any feedback. Give me things that you'd like to talk about. But I mean, just, what we did on the board is just an example of just how something can be really, really simple. Yet the details of how you do it can pay huge dividends. And that becomes a big piece of what I try to talk about on Quarterback Confidential is we can get as complicated as we want, but let's figure out a way to take this great game, the great complicated game, and simplify it. So you can be a better coach, you can make better players. If you're just a fan of the game, because I know a couple people tweeted last night, just a fan of the game, if you just want to learn it from a different perspective so you can understand what commentators are talking about or understand what a guy's doing, that's what it's all about. So I'm just trying to create something where I can use my background and my expertise to impact the lives of other people through this game. So it's QB Confidential on every social media platform: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and then obviously we've got the site going. And become a subscriber. You got that Coach's Zone to be able to hit me with some other questions, and then hopefully we can do this again. I love talking ball.
I would love to.
Otherwise, I wouldn't put together a platform that had that much content on it. But it's fun stuff for me, and I think it really can help people and improve their stake in the game, and that to me is the main thing. So I'm sure we'll talk again. I'm sure we'll do this again, but always appreciate what you're doing and having me on.
Thank you very much. And you're right. You will not be the last. This will not be the last you heard of me. I'm going to go pick your brain now in the QB Confidential.
Sounds good. Look forward.